have to look at other options. You're forced to. I mean, Nick Saban's got a responsibility to the football team to make sure that he's putting the offense in the best possible hands to give them the best chance to win, in their opinion. For the first 2 weeks, they feel like that guy's been Jalen Milroe. Now, Jalen can go out and play really, really good, and then they can get back on track, and then it doesn't become a discussion. Or he could go out and kind of sputter, and maybe he's playing with a lack of confidence, or he feels like he's looking over his shoulder or what have you. But bottom line is, he's probably going to be told you have to play, and it's not all on him. We've talked about the run game wasn't what you'd expect it to be. The offensive line at times was really struggling with that Texas front. But at the end of the day, he's got to make the necessary plays, and most importantly, he's got to avoid turnovers and carelessness with the football. That's the thing I think that frustrates Nick Saban more than anything else, is being careless with the football. He knows they're good enough to where if you just take care of the ball, you're going to be in every game with anybody you take the field with at Alabama. So I think that's what Jalen Milroe's got to work on, and he's got to make good decisions with the football.
Final 2 minutes here, Luke. Tell me, other than Texas, another team that maybe we haven't touched on, or maybe you want to go back to quickly, that impressed you, and maybe one team other than Alabama that may have disappointed you this weekend.
I think Penn State's on the verge of being a real problem. That quarterback has been as advertised. Drew Aller is a lot of people and Penn State fans and those in the Big Ten wondering who's going to compete with Michigan and who's going to compete with Ohio State. I think Penn State can compete with both of them. Now, James Franklin's got to prove that he can get over that hurdle, but this is by far his best football team. It's the best team he's had at Penn State. I don't think it's close. They've got NFL guys littered throughout their two deep on offense and on defense, and the quarterback's starting to emerge as a significant difference maker. A team that's disappointed, maybe it is NC State a little bit for me, because Brennan Armstrong reunites with Robert Anae as offensive coordinator in 2020 and 2021 when Brennan Armstrong was lighting the world on fire offensively. And you figure NC State's got better personnel than Virginia, so you get all of that to come together. And I thought we'd see more of an offensive explosion from NC State. We haven't seen that yet. They struggled week 1 versus UConn, got the win on the road. But that was not the performance I expected to see from them against Notre Dame, and Notre Dame deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah, so we got a big week next week. Maybe some interesting games this week, including Georgia and South Carolina. We finally get to see Georgia maybe stressed a little bit. Luke, thank you. That's our show, mybookie.ag, Monday morning live. Don't forget the replay starts at the top of the hour, and then the next round is live at 9 a.m. Central Time. Until next time, God bless you and God bless America. Thanks, Luke.
Support the show and grab some great t-shirts and hoodies right now in the Next Round store. Buy the Alabama State map shirts in your team's favorite colors, the popular Y'all Can Have the Rest, or Next Round flag shirts are also online now. Just go to nextround.store. That's nextround.store. The traditional Next Round logo shirts are there too. Buy them for yourself, or they make a great gift for someone else. And let us know what you'd like to see in the store coming up. Nextround.store. That's nextround.store.
Take the next round anywhere you go with official Next Round gear. Buy yours today at nextround.store. All the stories important to us are in one place. Catch the morning rounds each weekday at nextroundlive.com. Jim Dunaway, Lance Taylor, Ryan Brown, and Rockstar. Live from the Birmingham Racecourse Casino Studios, the Next Round, presented by Bud Light, is on now.
Auburn goes west for a win. Alabama gets it handed to them by Texas by double digits in Bryant-Denny. In our Alabama Power stat of the day, the SEC 3-6 versus the Power 5. After Texas gets Bama and Miami gets Texas A&M, Alabama Power is looking for new ways to help you save time and money. That's why they offer a suite of digital tools for you. Right now, visit alabamapower.com/digital books. That's alabamapower.com to get started today. Double digits at home.
Yeah, for the first time ever under Nick Saban. And this is the earliest loss Nick Saban's ever had at Alabama.
Yep.
And this is before an SEC schedule. And, we talked about this postgame on Saturday night. I don't know how good the SEC is. I really don't. And, I was talking to a Georgia fan, our buddy Ken West at Walk-Ons last night, and he's like, I don't know how good we are.
Well,
he's like, I doubt Carson Beck a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, they have performed poorly in the first half against all these crap teams they've played, or both these crap teams they've played. Jim gave the stat. I don't know how good. There's nobody in the conference that has proven to me I can believe in them just yet. There are a lot of teams I doubt right now, though, based on what they've done in pre-conference play, and one of them is Alabama.
Yeah, some of those losses, we'll find out how good Miami is. Texas looks really good. Florida State looks really good. North Carolina could be good at some point. There have been some quality losses. Utah's good, but they still don't have Cam Rising. So some of those losses are not alarming, but those are usually the games the SEC are stacking up. Let's break down this Alabama game a little bit. But first of all, the big picture. The thing everyone is saying, it was in the chat room with Monday Morning Live with Luganville earlier today. You've heard it since we left the stadium at Bryant-Denny the other night. For some reason, it feels different after this loss. It feels different than it did after LSU last year, or after Tennessee, or after that one time at College Station. Why do you think it feels different this time? Because it was at home? Because it was double digits? Because you don't have a first-round quarterback?
Yeah, I think all those things.
Yeah.
I think all those things, but more so the quarterback. Even when you would lose a game like you did at Tennessee, you're like, well, you got Bryce Young. And we've seen this guy. He can pull off the heroics. And I think Jalen Milroe's solid, but, obviously this is a massive downgrade from what you had before. The offensive line, it just didn't look like it was a dominant offensive line on Saturday.
Yeah, I think that is really the big thing, is you focus so much on quarterback naturally. It's the most important position in the game. And when you walk into that stadium thinking, he did some nice things against Middle Tennessee, but I still don't know 100% if I could trust Jalen Milroe in big games. And then you watch him and you're like, okay, I couldn't.
Yeah.
And there are bigger games coming. Now, look, Texas, right now, I would say I'd have Texas number one in the country, personally. Texas is.
I wish you voted.
Why? I
just
have before.
I know. I just I love how you fluctuate, though.
Well, I think that's the way you ought to do it, personally. But I would have them number one in the country. Best to win today, right now. Because it was on the road in a hostile environment. I was so impressed by the way Texas played that game. But and that being said, I think Texas is the best team Alabama's going to face this year. So you walk out of that stadium thinking, okay, you're not going to play a better team than that in all likelihood.
No. Here's the most alarming thing to me, and it's easy to say that it's Jalen Milroe or Pete Golding's defense isn't there anymore, but they ended up giving almost 100 more yards to Texas this time with Kevin Steele as the DC than Pete Golding. Pete Golding had to be smoking a cigar on Saturday thinking to himself, it wasn't just me. But all we heard about was that offensive line and how it's going to be murder ball. Running back runs, 20 of them, 63 yards, average 3.1 per carry. That's by the running backs. Take out Jalen Milroe rushing the football, 20 running back runs for 63 yards. That doesn't sniff Derrick Henry's jock.
No, look, 3.1 yards. Look, at a lot of teams couldn't run the football on Saturday. But 3.1 yards, that was the one thing that you thought you could rely on. You've got a staple of running backs. Justice Haynes didn't even play. Again, I think the running back rotation's been a little odd. But if you can't trust your quarterback, you don't have big play receivers, and now your run blocking, it hasn't been great. Pass protection, they give up 5 sacks on Saturday. And I would say this is going to be a gauntlet coming up, but I don't know who's good. Ole Miss struggled with a backup quarterback against them in Tulane. They had every opportunity to lose that game until they had that late, onslaught of points in the fourth quarter, and I'm glad they did. Mississippi State, they're +5 in turnovers, and they win a game in overtime that they shouldn't have won.
Could not close out Arizona.
Yeah, I don't know about Arkansas. I don't know about Tennessee. Again, lackluster performances. Auburn's offense is awful.
Yep.
Kentucky's offense is still bad under Liam Cohen. So bad he had to go to the hospital after watching film yesterday.
Milkman says that Bryce Young wouldn't have saved Bama Saturday night. And that's the alarming thing. I don't think he would have.
I think he would have.
I don't think he would have.
It wasn't a receiving problem. Those receivers played their ass off. They were going up and catching balls that were going to be another interception.
He wouldn't have made those two bad reads.
He wouldn't have, but he'd been running for his life all night. I think that's Milkman's point. And I know Bryce did that all last year.
Yeah, for 2 years.
And by the way, and again on Sunday.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the alarming thing to me is you can bang Jalen Milroe all you want. He's the quarterback. He's going to get more praise than he deserves and more criticism than he deserves. That's the nature of that position. But it starts up front. Alabama cannot run the ball effectively, which means
you got to throw it.
You can't slow down the pass rush, right?
That's right.
And it means you got to throw it. And now teams are able to tee off because you're not running the ball effectively on me. You're not slowing down my pass rush. Those safeties can get a little bit closer. Those safeties can play a little bit further back, taking away the deep ball. I mean, it all starts with that offensive front. They are not what they talk about wanting to be.
Yeah, Luganville said in Monday Morning Live from the get-go they were not scared about Jalen Milroe throwing the football. If he was going to beat them deep, and he did a couple of times, we can live with that. They're not going to run the football on us, and they stacked it in there, and they didn't run the football on them, and they forced them to do what Jalen Milroe I guess is not built to do, and that's to throw the intermediate pass. And they struggle with that all day. 2 beautiful long balls for touchdowns. But other than that, it was a pretty pedestrian offensive performance from Alabama. From the get-go, they struggled to smoothly move the football. It was a struggle from them to move the football. It was never a smooth offensive performance. Let's get into our Dr. B sound of the day. We go to the locker room to hear from both Saban and Sark. Tell us about Dr. B, and then Rockshire will do cut 3.
Dr. Beckenstein, best in the business. Again, a couple of years ago when I started thinning out, I asked around. Everybody said Dr. B is the guy you need to call. I did that, went in for that consultation, and my hair has already doubled in thickness. I do the 3 non-invasive treatments on the couch, 30 minutes each session a week. That's it. T3hair.net, 205-319-0316. For more than 20 years, women and men have turned to Dr. Beckenstein for a range of cosmetic and reconstructive procedures. He will use that experience in advanced training, genetic testing to help his patients fully understand the procedures they are considering. Call Dr. B today. Tell him the next round sent you, 205-319-0316 or T3hair.net.
There are times when Nick Saban answers things not the way I think he's going to answer them. When he gets asked about changing the quarterback, did he ever think about that? I was expecting him not to answer it this way.
What did you think of the way that Jalen played tonight, and did you give any thought to maybe playing multiple quarterbacks?
I did, but when he put the drive together to go down the field and score when we got ahead, I thought that gave him a lot of confidence. And but we never ever discussed it. I can't sit here and say the thought doesn't come to mind for any player that's having a difficult time. And but he made some good plays at the end of the game, and that was good to see. Obviously the interception was critical in the game, and so we're just going to work to try to get all our players better.
I'll tell you, with all, and I watched it again yesterday, with all the things that did not go right for Alabama, it's 16-13 Bama going to the fourth quarter. Alabama's got the lead. And then Texas scores. And as they keep saying on the broadcast, and as Sark had said, we wanted to throw haymakers. So it was back and forth you go. And then, boom, you come out and you throw the worst of the 2 interceptions. And then it's a quick touchdown. And then it felt like, okay, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, look, I think, Jalen Milroe is going to be kind of maddening because he is one of those guys that can make wild plays. Aaron Suttles was the first to tell us that he could throw a really good deep ball on Bama and Bourbon, and he can't throw a deep ball. Again, if this offensive line could come together and you could get the production you thought you would get out of these running backs, I think Alabama would be okay. But I just don't know if that's going to happen. I mean, again, it's really early. You still have everything in front of you. The SEC looks wide open right now. I mean, if you guys had to handicap, the 3 teams that I thought could win the SEC this year out of the West, Alabama, LSU, and Texas A&M, all have a loss.
They do.
If you guys had to pick who was going to win the West, who would it be?
I couldn't right now.
I'd go back to my original LSU, but I don't feel good about it.
You shouldn't. I'm saying you should feel good about it. I see what Saban is saying there, though. Like, if you didn't score, it is 13-9 Texas, and you got to think about changing it. But he takes you down and scores. why change at that point? Now you're entering the fourth quarter, and you've waited too late at that point.
It's a perfect deep ball, too. I mean, it was.
Yeah, he threw the ball right on the money.
Yeah.
And then Texas comes right back down and scores, so you're thinking, well, if I change now and we get an empty possession, it is kind of a dumb time to change after guys just made his best pass of the game. So by then, you're sold on finishing the game with him. If Alabama were going to see another quarterback, they probably had to do it in the first half, but that is a one-score game most of that first half. And again, I watching it, I don't know how Nick Saban and Kevin Steele and that coaching staff felt, but I can just tell you, sitting on my couch watching it, it felt like Alabama played that whole first half on the razor's edge. The Texas was about to blow the game open in the first half. That's what it felt like to me. Like when you got to halftime, the stats weren't that out of whack, but I felt like Texas had badly outplayed Alabama in the first half.
That's right. It felt that way the whole night, and that's what I was thinking. You were into the fourth quarter, and I feel like Texas has outplayed you 2-1.
Yeah.
And you're up.
Leading.
You're up 16-13. I was going to be like, this is going to be a frustrating loss for Sark to come in here and get 16-13. And that gets you back to what the hell's going on defense. There's no pressure. You're rushing 4 or 3, and you're expecting those DBs to stay with those great Texas wide receivers for 4 seconds, 5 seconds, 6 seconds, 7 seconds. It's crazy.
See, and that's the problem. I mean, if you would have said going into this game, you're going to hold Texas to less than 3 yards a carry, which 2.8, then you're probably going to win this game. I mean, because we really didn't know how good Quinn Ewers was going to be. It ended up being really good. Pass protection was good. Alabama couldn't get pressure. And you can talk about these defensive backs getting burned, but when you have that amount of time, it is impossible to cover talented receivers like Texas has.
And scheme-wise, Brand, I just don't know if they were trying to heat him up at all. It looked like they were not rushing a ton. No blitzes or few blitzes.
I think that is probably a product of them being a little bit worried about the back end, too. Malachi Moore's playing hurt. You have Caleb Downs, who's a freshman. He got burned early as a freshman.
Was a little aggressive coming up.
Had the nose.
He's physical, though.
He is. He had the eyes in the backfield, though. He was looking to come up, blow a back up. And you know who sees that right, Dunaway? You know who knows he's a freshman? It's Steve Sarkisian.
Yeah, and he knows he's going to be aggressive.
And he's like, let's see how this kid handles a little play action. He did not handle it well. So if you're Kevin Steele, you're like, I got a banged up Malachi Moore. I got a freshman. I've got a defensive back who's doing a lot of grabbing, and I got Kool-Aid McKinstry. So am I going to blitz right there? Because those are pretty good Texas receivers. Xavier Worthy, again, it's as good a receiver as Alabama's going to play this year.
Hey, and he showed it. That first touchdown catch was a hell of a catch.
It was.
Man, it was Willie Mays Hayes.
Yeah.
Or Willie Mays back in the day.
I mean, it's coming down from the planet like this. It's coming straight down like this.
I mean, it really is like shooting a jug straight up and being able to I mean, I really still don't know how he made that catch. I mean, it was a great throw, an incredible catch. But
you're right. It was like trying to catch a punt while running full speed, looking back at the punt.
Where were Dallas Turner and Chris Braswell?
They were apparently on the field.
Yeah, I mean, they did play.
Yeah, Dallas Turner made the one play on that fourth down stop, where he turned the back in and saved it. That was about the only time you heard his name all night.
But you go back, other than the fumble score to the Tennessee loss last year, you didn't hear Will Anderson, Dallas Turner a lot in that game either. And a lot of people were saying they sort of attacked it the same way, trying to get home to the quarterback, trying to protect the DBs, and it didn't work in that game either. I don't know where it's gone. Where, like at the end of your Chargers Dolphins game yesterday, Dolphins take the lead. Chargers with enough time to work down and get a game-winning field goal. What did the Dolphins do?
Well, they started lighting up the quarterback, and they had not gotten to him all day.
Yeah, if we're going to lose, we're going to lose with our hair on fire going after the quarterback.
The one thing we can't do is let Justin Herbert stand back there.
But you know what? I think they attacked it differently after the missed extra point.
Oh, I agree with you.
I think that's almost the best thing that happened to you guys.
They knew they were going to lose instead of go to overtime.
That's right. No, you're right. It is a mindset. There's no doubt. So. Yeah, I don't know. I was very disappointed. Quinn Ewers, I said it a million times Saturday night. He could wear his uniform to church on Sunday. Alabama could not get him on the ground. They really couldn't even touch him.
Yeah, I'm no coach, so this is just from a fan perspective. But if I'm going to give up long, deep throws or wide open throws to receivers for 20 yards, I think, 5, 6, 30-plus yards completions in this game? 5 or 6 against the Alabama defense of 30-plus yards? Yeah, if that's going to happen to me, I want it to happen to me when we're sending the house.
That's right.
And we're going to make him make that decision quick.
Yeah, Whittingham had a 31-yarder. Worthy had a 44-yarder, that touch. 39 from A.D. Mitchell. and Jatavion Sanders had a 50-yarder.
Yeah, that's all four of their great receivers. They all had at least one explosive play.
Yeah, as Curtis says in the Vulcan Tire and Automotive chat room, Bama doesn't blitz because they're afraid of getting beat, but they get beat when they don't blitz. So you may as well make him do it under pressure.
Yeah,
see if he can throw off his back foot a little bit.
Yeah, or make him, get hit a couple of times and see if his head's still clear-eyed, full heart.
The Texas reference.
NASCAR Fast. Don't forget, NASCAR is coming to our friends at Talladega Super Speedway. You can get those tickets right now, TalladagaSuperspeedway.com. Your tickets include Hardy in concert on Saturday night. Truck Series playoff race on Saturday, Yellowwood 500 on Sunday. It's September 30th, October 1st, TalladagaSuperspeedway.com, TalladagaSuperspeedway.com for the racing tickets at the world's fastest speedway. Go get those tickets, TalladagaSuperspeedway.com. Here is Steve Sarkisian after the game. You guys don't always love him as a coach, but he calls a great game.
Oh, he does call a great game.
And he comes running into this game with the right attitude. Here's Sark after the win.
A lot of people, I've been in that locker room, and a lot of people walk in the stadium, and the mystique of Alabama, they're beat before the ball gets kicked off. And I had to make sure that our players understood that we're good enough to come in here and win. But the moment doubt creeps in, that's when you can start making the mistakes that can get you beat. And so I wanted to be clear with our players that, hey, it's not about we fear them. We do respect them, and I respect a ton of that team. But we were good enough to come here and win if we played capable enough to do it. And we played that style of football tonight.
Yeah, you got to come in and be aggressive. And he had a plan, and he was aggressive. He wasn't afraid to throw it deep.
I think Lincoln Riley is probably the best offensive coach in college football.
Yeah, I mean, him or Sark.
I was going to say, if Lincoln Riley's one, that guy right there is number two.
I had some Alabama fans over Saturday, and I was like, man, you guys miss him because that guy can call a game.
It's just, I don't know, Dunaway. I don't know football, but I could sit there and watch, and with Sark, one play builds off another one. I never felt that way with Bill O'Brien, and I don't feel that way with Tommy Rees. But it's like with Sark, it's like
it's a formula, man. It's fluid, and it's like, because this worked, we're going to go this direction. Yeah. I hate to bring my Rams into it, but watching Sean McVay call that game without Cooper Kupp yesterday, the dude can call plays.
And I was the same way with Miami, but it just feels like good play callers, and Lincoln Riley is the same way.
It's an art, man.
It's just like you run play A, and then play B is the natural next play. And I don't know that it's coming, but I watch him. Oh, that made sense. But then it just keeps building.
The and Herb Street did a good job of breaking this down on the broadcast. The pre-snap motion does so much to really stress a complicated defense sometimes, like Nick Saban and them love to run. It really stresses them out, and Sark knew that. And all the pre-snap movement and stuff, they knew exactly what they were doing. Not revisionist history, because it's different from being a play caller and being a head coach, but you guys are a little chilly on Sark as a head coach.
Yeah. Well, again, I mean, he's had premier jobs at Washington, USC, now Texas in year 3. He's never had a double-digit win season, so I mean, you can be a great play caller and not necessarily a great coach. And maybe, look, and I'm pulling for Sark. That guy's got a lot of demons. He's overcome a lot of it self-inflicted, but still, getting another redemption opportunity here seems like a good dude. And, it's been so long since we've seen Texas be good. And when you start to look at the schedule, I mean, there's only really 3 or 4 losable games for Texas, and most of those are at home. So,
then, by the way, they can now afford a loss.
They can.
Yeah.
But, I don't see, at Baylor. I mean, you guys watched Baylor. They were awful.
Oh, they're easily favored every one of their games.
Yep. Oh, yeah. I mean, the tough games are at home. Kansas State, Oklahoma's obviously a neutral site.
4 weeks from now.
Kansas would be interesting if it was in Lawrence, because Jalen Daniels is legitimate. But that game's in Austin. There'll be a double-digit favorite there. And then they close with Texas Tech, who's good, but that game's in Austin too. So I'm not going to be surprised at all if they run the table.
All due respect to Jalen Daniels or anybody they'll play, their 4 dudes on the defensive line, are NFL quality, and that was part of the battle to watch. And they whipped the Alabama offensive line in that contest. At halftime, 52% of Milroe's dropbacks were pressures, and that number did not go down in the second half. An impressive performance. We'll get to all your comments in the chat room. Best and worst of the weekend coming up. Before LT tells you about our friends at Simpio, Rockstar Gimme Cut number 8, the biggest Texas fan of all, was on the sidelines. Matthew McConaughey. Afterwards, I get a chance to go one-on-one with him. One-on-one interview with Matthew McConaughey right after the win. Here's what it sounded like. Matthew and Jim.
Matthew, what do you think of the win, man? What do you think of the win?
Okay, so I'm going to try again.
Yeah, get in his face now.
I love the persistence.
How big is this for Texas football?
Is that a natural deodorant you have on? At that point, I was like, let's just capture the moment. He apparently does not want to talk.
Completely ignoring you.
He is to me, kind of a fair weather fan. You only see him when Texas is good. Have you noticed that?
I have not.
I have not noticed that.
I've seen him on sidelines recently.
I've seen him at every Red River.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's pure
I
Texas.
think he's definitely a big fan, but maybe it's just the you only show in the big moments.
Hey, how about that Texas crowd? I'm sure our friends at ATIX, we could check with them. They bought some tickets.
This is one of the reasons if you're Greg Byrne, you don't put the band where you put the band. Because if you lose, it's very humbling.
Well,
there were a lot of Texas fans in the lower bowl. What I'm saying is they bought a lot of
I get that, but I'm just
secondary
saying,
market.
I didn't realize how bad their tickets were or how bad the seating situation was until I saw it Saturday night.
But I mean, it seemed like on TV, you were there, so it was right down in front of you. The section that would normally be the Texas fans were all Texas fans anyway, it seemed like, on TV.
Because those are usually fans, Alabama fans who are in upper deck. And I think they got a value at selling their tickets.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Are those tickets hit the open market? So I don't know how all that worked, but it seemed like there was a bunch of Texas fans there anyway. So
that's right.
I don't know that the mission was accomplished.
No. In fact, not only did they have their upper bowl, their away tickets where they were placed, they bought a lot of Alabama tickets.
That's a passionate fan base with money. They'll travel now.
That's right. I mean, people made some money off of it.
There's no doubt.
And I've seen a lot of fan bases just want to travel for the tailgate experience and see what the campus is like and just get that SEC feel before they're actually in the SEC. I mean, outside of the stadium and out the strip and the bars, I mean, you were out there amongst everyone. I mean, how many Texas fans were actually in Tuscaloosa?
Yeah, there were a ton. But a lot of them got in too. They bought it from the Alabama fans. There's Forrester's got the picture of the band. That's upper corner.
Again, I was in the minority. I thought it was petty.
Yeah.
Well, it was payback, and they ended up winning the game too, so they can clap back at you. They're coming to the SEC. We'll talk later on about are they ready for the SEC. It does look that way right now. A lot of fun in Tuscaloosa if you're a Texas fan, no doubt about that. We'll get to Auburn's big win, best and worst of the week, and all that coming up. Tell us about Simpio quickly.
Yeah, one of the fastest growing companies in the Southeast is Simpio. When your company joins Simpio, you gain access to health care and employer benefits at prices only large organizations get. You can join Simpio any time of year. No annual contract. With that being said, they've got a 99% retention rate. Call Blake and the guys, 205-635-7467 or Simpio.com.
Call the next round now at 205-734-0923.
Storm season is here. Make sure you have a plan of action in place right now. Greg from Pell City and Storm Restoration Roofing should be your first call when storms hit. Insurance companies love working with Storm Restoration Roofing because of Greg Nelson's name and reputation in the industry. When storms hit, call Greg Nelson. He's local, 205-542-3531. He's the home of the free no-cost roof inspection. Greg from Pell City on Facebook, 205-542-3531. It's Storm Restoration Roofing. It's NBA time, Birmingham, as we hoop it up with the New Orleans Pelicans and Houston Rockets, October 12th at Legacy Arena. Single game tickets are now available. Visit BirminghamSquadron.com or call 205-719-0850 for more information or to buy tickets. And the game is packed with former local players like Herb Jones and Kyra Lewis Jr. and Jabari Smith, and other superstars like Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson. You can also become a Squadron season ticket holder to get complimentary tickets to this huge event right here in the Magic City. The Pelicans preseason game in Birmingham sold out last year, so get your tickets as soon as possible. Do that online at BirminghamSquadron.com or by calling 205-719-0850. October 12th, it's the Pelicans and Rockets at Legacy Arena right here in Birmingham. BirminghamSquadron.com.
The next round brought to you by the biggest and baddest track in NASCAR, the Talladega Superspeedway. The Yellowwood 500 NASCAR Playoffs weekend is coming up. You don't want to miss it. The action kicks off Saturday, September 30th with the Craftsman Truck Series Playoffs race, all leading up to the NASCAR Cup Series Playoffs on Sunday, October the 1st. Be there to see these drivers battle for 500 miles to survive and advance to the next round of the playoffs. Get your tickets now at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com. Again, that is TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
As summer bids adieu, get ready to welcome the arrival of fall. But hey, it's not just football season making an entrance. In the world of pest, it's fall invader season. Hold on tight, because we got 4 major troublemakers stepping into the spotlight: box elder bugs, kudzu bugs, ladybugs, and stink bugs. These pests don't just knock, they barge in like they own the place. But fear not, dial up Wayne's Pest Control now, 865-588-6686, and show those fall invaders who's boss. Don't let pests crash your fall. Take charge today.
Man, I love a good meal. I'm Jim Dunaway. A good meal is what you get with my friend Sterling at Champy's Chicken on Highway 119 in Alabaster. We're talking great southern fried chicken, wonderful sides, hand-cut chicken fingers, po' boys, and those Mississippi Delta recipe tamales. You got a perfect menu for everybody. Champy's Chicken is perfect for watching the big game, or taking a meal to the lake house, down to the coast, or stay in the restaurant and dine in a great atmosphere. It's all made fresh to order right there on 119 in Alabaster. Champy's Chicken.
Back with you on the next round. Auburn gets the win. We're about to hear from Hugh Freeze, brought to you today by our friends right there at, let's go with Harbin's Outdoors. Harbin's Outdoors. Tell us about the great folks at Harbin.
One-stop shop, turnkey. Again, I wish Harbin's would have been around a decade ago when we did a pool, but now Jeremy and the guys, they're there for you. Harbin's Outdoors, again, award-winning landscaping, hardscaping. These guys can do it all. If you're in the pool market, Harbin's does it all, from the install to the lighting, final hardscapes around the pool, everything in between. It's beautiful work. You can find them on Instagram at Harbins_outdoors. See it for yourself. Call or text Jeremy directly, 205-300-0718. That's 205-300-0718 at Harbin's. You and your home are the center of all that they do. Call them today for all of your landscaping needs.
Into Sunday morning local time on the West Coast, it's a win. It's a win, and I value every win. But Hugh Freeze afterwards talks about 14-10 Auburn over Cal.
I think in our stage of our building this program, I think it's I can go in there Monday and I can be hard on them. I can call them up and by pointing out, look, this ain't going to get it. And I think that's what you have to have, and you can do that much easier after wins than you can after losses. We'll point out what they did well too. But there's a lot that we cannot play like that offensively and expect to win football games on this schedule we have.
Yeah, Cal's defense, though, is not trash. I will say that. Justin Wilcox coaches a good defensive style. Probably doesn't have the same dude. Well, I know he doesn't have the same dudes as most SEC teams, but he coaches a good style. But I thought Auburn's defense in a tough situation, when the offense isn't helping, played great.
Yeah, look, again, we were talking about Alabama's inability to run the football, Texas's inability to run the football. You look at Cal. Jaden Ott was coming off a 188-yard game. He only goes for 78 on 20 carries. They averaged 2.8 yards per carry. And I'll just say this, the Auburn offense was awful.
Horrid.
And they turn it over 4 times, and you still get out of a Power 5 stadium on the road with a win. And that's kind of the silver lining. You've been able to tell from the body language and just the way Hugh has talked about this team that he knows they've got issues. And the thing I would say, and I've said this the entire time, Auburn will get better each and every week. So just surviving early games like this, I mean, this is what can get you to 7 or 8 wins possibly.
So we pointed out a lot of negative with Alabama and wrapped it up by saying, if there is a silver lining, this is probably the best team you're going to play all year. You can point out a lot of negative with Auburn, but you come out of that knowing that is far from the best team you're going to play all year. So you got to get, like Hugh Freeze just said, you cannot play this way and survive in the SEC. Now, the positive is they identified a defensive star in Eugene Asante.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
this kid, my gosh, he was all over the
Yeah,
place.
I was talking about Dallas Turner and Chris Braswell. You didn't really hear their names. I mean, all you heard was Asante.
I know. He made it play after play.
He was the best player on the field, in my opinion.
Yeah,
but
I would agree.
all of a sudden, from Sanford this week to anybody else, he'll be the first guy you certify. Okay, where's this kid? Because we got to stop this kid from making every play.
Yeah, let's devote a tight end over there on that side. Let's chip him with a back. I mean, he's going to start getting attention. You have to the way he played. The negative for Auburn, the concerning part, especially in the light of the fact you're playing Cal, who is far from the best team you're going to play, is like Lance said, that offense was awful. I thought Peyton Thorne was a better quarterback.
He's awful.
From what I saw against UMass, he was not good. And then it's magnified by the fact that Robbie Ashford was a complete non-factor. That Cal was obviously like, okay, we saw what you're going to do with him. You're not going to do that against us. And he was a non-factor in that game. So all of that rhythm you had of, Peyton Thorne moves it right down the field against UMass. Here comes Robbie Ashford, boom, touchdown, off the table now. And you wonder, is that a sign of things to come? Was that a UMass deal and we're not going to see red zone Robbie anymore? Can you continue to do that? I mean, you got a lot of questions offensively coming out of this.
Yeah,
game.
I don't know if you're going to be able to do that against SEC talent. I mean, it looked fun against UMass.
Yeah.
It did not look fun or good against Cal.
It was a momentum killer against Cal.
Yeah.
I mean, what momentum you had. Not that they had very much offensive momentum at all.
Boy, it gets real after Sanford.
It really does for them. For all your plumbing, cooling, and heating needs, trust the name Birmingham's trusted since 1954. Hemp Hill Services. You can call them up 205-229-2090, 229-2090. They bring you best and worst of the weekend. One of the best for me over the weekend was seeing the pictures from Cal. My friend, the Orrs family, went out there and took in the game, as did, according to them, about 35% of the stadium they thought was Auburn fans. That may be a little high according to some Cal fans, but a lot of Auburn fans made the trip out there, including Bruce Pearl was there, and a number of Auburn fans turning that 100-year-old stadium. I didn't know the mountains were there at Berkeley. It was just there's Bruce at the game.
Yeah, it was a cool-looking place.
Yeah, and they had the mountains. The sun was setting.
I texted a few people that said, is the stadium as dumpy in person as it looks on TV? And I got a lot of, it's not as bad as you would think.
Yeah.
Just for people I know that were at the game.
It looked like it had a Rose Bowl feel to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've always liked it. This is so unfortunate the Pac-12 is going away. Again, I'll continue to harp on this. For the first time outside of the SEC, a conference has 8 teams in the top 25, and that is the Pac-12. And 2 of those teams don't even have a home in Washington State and Oregon State. And it's just so unfortunate because Pac-12 is playing such good football. Those are cool venues. I know they don't have a lot of fan support, and obviously they didn't have the power structure that could continue this, keeping up with the arms race that is college football. But this just sucks. That they're going out like this. At least they're going out on top, though.
Yeah, that's true.
I would tell you, as Brownie starts to give us some of that best and worst of the weekend, if you're out and about today, Milo's has that classic burger, right? But if that's not enough, if you download the Milo's app after your first purchase, you get the original cheeseburger for free. Stuff your face, earn free stuff. Download the Milo's app today and start earning those rewards. Best and worst, Brownie.
All right, Ashley, the best, Dunaway seeking Matthew McConaughey. The worst, Brown not knowing who Carrie Bradshaw was. I did not. It was during
Sex in the City?
It turns out, yes. It was during the oh gosh.
Yeah, I don't know how you didn't know that. Just because
I've never seen an episode.
I've only seen 1 or 2 episodes at tops. But I mean, that's kind of like there's so many Carrie Bradshaw references out there.
I guess I didn't know, but Erin Andrews asked Aaron Rodgers, "Are you having more fun in New York than Carrie Bradshaw?" She goes, "Not Terry Bradshaw, Carrie Bradshaw." I'm like, who the crap is she talking about? So I Googled it, and I'm like, oh, okay, Sex and the City. I've never seen Sex and the City.
But that was very 1990s, though, right? Which is almost a quarter of a century ago.
I mean, it's an old reference, no doubt.
Yeah, but I mean, they've had the revivals. They've had the movies. I think they had a new series.
Yeah.
No idea. And I just tweeted, honest admission, I had to Google Carrie Bradshaw after that. And then I was like, oh, okay. I guess the question made sense now. A lot of worst coming from, obviously, the Alabama-Texas game. Troy's best, Texas worst, Auburn's offense. My Lord. That's an Auburn fan, obviously, who liked the start of it. Did not like the end of it. Worst of the weekend from Bobby. Cubs bats going cold against the team. Right behind them in the wild card race. Best of the weekend. Prince Law catching Bryce Young's first TD in the stands and not giving it back till he got a hug. That can't be true.
Oh, I don't know.
But Hayden Hurst threw it up in the stands.
About 30 rows.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, that is Bryce Young's first touchdown. And then like about 30 minutes later, Tank Bigsby scored his first touchdown of his career for Jacksonville. And they're going to the sidelines. Trevor Lawrence has the ball. He's carrying it like a running back. Like he's making sure the ball gets back to the sidelines, which I thought was pretty cool of Trevor Lawrence.
Because Trevor understands the situation. Hunter Henry did not.
Hayden Hurst.
Hayden Hurst
did not. I mean, he literally chunks it in the stands. I'm like, dude, that is his first touchdown. Bryce Young's going to have to give so many jerseys away to get that back.
Watching those rookie quarterbacks and watching, a first-year starter and Jordan Love, Bryce Young looked the worst of all of them.
Yeah. Prince Law, best. Dallas defense gave him 37 points. My gosh, if you had Dallas's defense, you ought to win your league this week. Worst, Burrow, 3 points. God, Burrow was bad.
Yeah.
That whole team was bad.
Less than 100 yards in passing for Joe Burrow against that Cleveland defense. Inclement weather, but a stingy Cleveland defense. And you always hate when you have a game like that after you sign the big contract because everybody breaks it down like they're doing in the chat room. He's making $3.5 million a game now, and he can't pass for 100 yards.
Well, he can't beat Cleveland. It's really weird because Deshaun Watson didn't play well. He's 1-5 his last 6 against Cleveland. Weather didn't help, but let's not forget last year, week 1 against Pittsburgh, he threw 4 picks and a loss. They play their best football November, December for whatever reason. They always get off to a slow start. That division is so unpredictable because I backed Baltimore minus the 10. They ended up covering, but that's a bad Houston team, and they looked a little shaky. J.K. Dobbins is gone. Yeah. J.K. Dobbins now gone for the year. Steelers looked awful. So what was once billed as maybe the best division in all of football, hell, I don't know who the best team is.
Yeah, I'll save my Kenny Pickett parade until 16 more games, but he looked like the Kenny Pickett I thought he'd look.
Oh, he missed some easy throws, too. Yeah. I was really surprised he looked that bad. Now, we back San Francisco. San Francisco's a good team.
They are. They looked it. Laura's best, both Auburn and the Saints barely winning. Laura's worst, both Auburn and the Saints barely winning.
Yeah, did you watch the end of the Saints game? I thought Vrabel was not going to kick the 3 because we were laying 3.5 with the Saints. And so you're up 4 at that spot. He decides to kick the 3 with about 2.5 minutes and all his timeouts left, which maybe is the right way to go. It was 4th and 4. But then the Saints come down. It's a perfect situation. They get a first down on 3rd down. Receiver goes out of bounds. Titans still have 2. All they got to do is hold on 3rd down, and I think the Saints probably kick again and cover. And that was one of my worst. I had a few of those, though.
Yeah.
Well, it was some tough backdoors this weekend.
Some pay off, though.
Some do.
What Ole Miss gave you.
You're right. Yeah. I mean, Texas Tech, boy, if you back the Red Raiders, I mean, that was a fun game to watch and how it completely came apart at the end of that game.
Yeah, that's against Oregon. They're in Lubbock, right? Oregon comes back and beats Texas Tech. And I'll go back and tell you, before you tell us about Hydro Live, LT, Bo Nix, it's 3rd and 11. And they need a play in the middle of the field on a drive, and he runs it for 13, gets the first down. They come back. They win the football game, Oregon over Texas Tech, and in 2 weeks they get Colorado there in Autzen, which should be all the game days are going to game day and Big Noon Kickoff are going back to Folsom this weekend for Colorado State. But the biggest one for Colorado, they'll blitz Colorado State, is against Oregon in Eugene coming up. That'll be must-see TV and come up in week 4.
Well, I can't believe game day is going this week and not waiting for that. I mean, I don't know what else is going on week 4.
There are 6 top 25 matchups in week 4, and Clemson, Florida State's not one of them.
And I think they'll probably know the Big Noon will have that one.
Yeah,
I think they probably know that. Is that game in Boulder, USC in Colorado?
USC Colorado is.
Yeah, so Big Noon will be
there.
theirs.
But before that, Colorado's going to Oregon. That's the one I would have circled because they're going to beat Colorado State.
Yeah.
But I think mud stomping is coming up. And I think Oregon, obviously their offense is really good. Their defense is supposed to be much better. I didn't see it. They were +4 in turnovers, and they were down 9 going into the 4th quarter. They shouldn't have won that game.
If you're looking ahead, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Clemson, Florida State.
Next week's fantastic.
Week 4, you got a ton.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
Tell us about Hydro Live.
Yeah, our friends at Hydro Live, IV therapy, B12 injections, cryotherapy, compression therapy, it's all under one roof. They're open 7 days a week, all their locations. There's one in Tuscaloosa. There's one, obviously, the newest in Greystone, Homewood, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. If you can't make it to Hydro Live, not a big deal. A nurse can come to you. Mention Next Round at checkout. Save 20% off any of their great services. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram at Hydro Live Therapy. For more information, hydrolivetherapy.com.
Let me quickly say, normally Tyler Booker is in this segment. He had an unavoidable obligation today that we knew about. We tried. He just couldn't. He didn't know what time it was going to be over. he was going to try to come on at the end of the show. We chose not to rush it. He's going to do it tomorrow at 11. So
Okay.
this has nothing to do. I know people will look at that and think it's got something to do with the loss. This is something we knew about. It was unavoidable. So we apologize that he's not here today. He'll be with us tomorrow at 11. So.
My fault. I knew about it, and that's why I didn't mention it. You're right. I should have mentioned it to start this segment. He's with us tomorrow, pre-planned on that.
Tomorrow at 11. So it's got nothing to do with the outcome of the game. Kevin, his best is Caleb Downs, looking like he's been there the whole time. His worst, Mel Tucker. It looked for a moment, Brett McMurphy reported Tucker was fired yesterday. It turns out it's just suspension without pay, he's going to be fired.
Yeah. I mean, they were looking for a reason, but I'll tell you this, Mel Tucker, when I heard it initially and I heard the scenario, I was like, this can't be true. So
he's admitted it.
I know. That's what I was going to say. Yeah. They bring in a sexual harassment, sexual assault advocate to speak to the team.
A rape victim herself, by the way.
And you decide to sexually harass her? This is like me going to a DE agent and saying, you know what, I need some cocaine.
Yeah.
I mean, he's eating dummy sandwiches is what he's doing.
No doubt.
And, boy, if I'm his wife, not only are you pissed off about that scenario, I'm more pissed off about the $77 million you just cost the Tucker family.
Yep.
Yeah, consensual phone sex is what he was saying. If he's fired with cause, which is where it's trending, it will cost him $77 to $80 million.
Incredible.
Of what was a $90+ million guarantee. The thing that's alarming with Michigan State's history with Larry Nassar is that Brenda Tracy, the advocate who is filing the complaint, filed the complaint last week? No. Back in the summer? No. December.
Yeah. There's a lot of people trying to explain why Michigan State administrators knew nothing about the details because it was a Title IX case and they're not supposed to. I guess I'll buy that. I don't know. I've never dealt with this kind of crap. But
just seems like that's a long time.
I agree.
For that to happen.
If you're going to have consensual phone sex, don't you do it with somebody else?
Yeah, I mean,
he picked the worst person he could have picked.
Very best case scenario, he's guilty of horrific judgment.
Right.
But that's the very best case scenario, and I'm afraid that's not what's going to be the truth.
Back to college football on the field when we come back. The holiday season's upon us, and Legacy Credit Card is there for you. It's just what you need to manage your spending safely and wisely during the holiday season. Credit cards offer better consumer protections against fraud when compared to, say, using your debit card, which is linked directly to your banking account. That can get dangerous. Legacy offers rates as low as 8.90% APR on the credit cards compared to the major credit cards that offer an advertised 29% APR. Look no further than Legacy and open that credit card online in minutes today. LegacyCreditUnion.com/join. LegacyCreditUnion.com/join. APR is the annual percentage rate. Rates and offers subject to change. See the website for complete details. Federally insured by the NCUA. Thanks to our friends at Legacy. Back on the field in college football when we come back on TNR.
Follow Sean Lunsford on Twitter @JLuntz.
Remember the name Way to Wellness if you're battling weight loss in your life. I'm Jim Dunaway from the Next Round. There was a time I was over 216 pounds until Way to Wellness helped me lose 45 pounds, and now for over 2 years, they've helped me keep that weight off. Here's their website, aplanforme.com, aplanforme.com. That's a great name for a website because there's no cookie-cutter plan. Everything is designed specifically for you. No contract, no sign-up fees, and your first consultation is free at Way to Wellness. The wait is over. Tonali has arrived. Beautifully distinctive Italian styling and performance. Come test drive the all-new 2024 Alfa Romeo Tonali plug-in hybrid at Alfa Romeo of Birmingham. The all-new Tonali offers best-in-class horsepower and torque, fastest 0 to 60 times in its class, plus best-in-class range with full electric charge. And best of all, qualified Tonali leasees are eligible for up to $7,500 EV tax credit factored into your lease. Hurry down to Alfa Romeo of Birmingham and experience the all-new Tonali.
DryTech Water Restoration is a locally owned company that specializes in mold remediation, fire and water damage cleanup, and SteraMist services. DryTech's goal is to provide clients with expert guidance when dealing with any home disaster. DryTech's highly trained specialists are available 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. They will work closely with you and your insurance company to make sure the process is stress-free as possible. Call DryTech today, 205-637-0143. The moment you discover damage to your home, DryTech's team will handle the rest.
Hey, if you're looking for Birmingham's best pizza, you need to stop in and see our friends at Slice Pizza and Brew. It's as local as you can get, from the ingredients that go into every pizza to the beer on tap. For a great lunch or dinner, go see our friends today, Vestavia or Lakeview at Slice.
Don't miss your chance to win at Birmingham Racecourse Casino. Open 24/7, so come on in for nonstop gaming action. You'll find the latest, hottest, most exciting games around, and you'll love the fun bonuses and big jackpots. Plus, you can watch and wager on horse and greyhound races from all over the world. Your best bet for big wins is just minutes away at Birmingham Racecourse Casino, where you can be a winner too. Birmingham Racecourse Casino off I-459, exit 31 Derby Parkway. Must be 21 or older.
Start your day online at nextroundlive.com. Get all the latest videos, podcasts, and college football stories. And it's also a great way to stream the show or shop in the Next Round store. Stay connected by visiting nextroundlive.com. Do you need extra cash handy? Look no further than Legacy Credit Union for whatever loan your lifestyle requires. It only takes a few minutes to apply and request the amount you need to give you peace of mind. With affordable low rates and manageable payback plans, a Legacy Lifestyle loan is crafted just for you. Apply online today at legacycreditunion.com/join. Lifestyle loans from Legacy. Terms and conditions may apply. Legacy is federally insured by the NCUA.
Woodhouse Day Spa bringing me a quick question here for you guys. Caleb Williams' dad, Carl, said last week that if he didn't like the way the draft shakes out, he could return to USC again next year. That's made available because of NIL money.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're making $5 million a year.
But hey, get that insurance policy. I hope he gets I don't know how big you can get from Lloyd's Atlanta, but get that policy.
Yeah, he doesn't want to play for Arizona. I don't think he wants to play for Tampa.
Well, after yesterday, he may not have to worry about Tampa.
Yeah, Arizona almost pulled it off.
Almost beat the Commanders. Does he want to play for the Commanders?
But I was talking to Brock Hewitt about this, and Hewitt said, look, I know that family, and he's not bluffing. Like, he really, if it's not the right spot for his son, he'll come back.
But, I mean, a crappy team's going to be picking first next year, too.
Oh, always.
That's who picks first normally. I mean, Carolina was actually kind of a different team because they traded to that pick to get Bryce Young.
Yeah, and by the way, all due respect to Justin Fields, if I'm a Chicago fan, I watched yesterday and I'm thinking to myself, I wish we had a quarterback.
Yeah, and I don't know how much is his fault. The Chicago's defense is awful. And then he started pressing. I mean, there were, I think, 4 times he had 2nd and 17 or more. We backed the Bears yesterday. They were awful.
Yeah. Tell us about Woodhouse, and we'll get into our 4 downs today as well.
Yeah, treat somebody to the gift of luxury from Birmingham's Best Day Spa, the Woodhouse Day Spa, located at the Summit Shopping Center. Choose from a menu of over 70 options, including massages, body treatment, skincare, waxing, nail service. Woodhouse Day Spa. You can go online, birmingham.woodhousespas.com. Gift cards, simple solution, buy them 24/7, or stop by the Woodhouse Day Spa at the Summit Shopping Center and tell Casey and Stuart the next round sent you.
Hey, by the way, if you go back to the Tennessee loss last year for Alabama, which broke that streak, they are 4-3 in Power 5 games their last 7. Now, you can manipulate the numbers however you want. They won a lot of Power 5 games before that, right, including the 2020 National Championship. But if you just go back to the Tennessee loss in Knoxville last year, since then, they are 4-3 in Power 5 games. That's the loss to Tennessee, the loss to LSU, and now the loss to Texas. Their wins have been over Mississippi State, Auburn, Kansas State, and one other one in there. Can't remember who it was.
Yeah.
So it's Ole Miss.
Ole Miss. So 4-3 the last 7 Power 5 games.
Lucky to beat Ole Miss.
Yeah.
So imagine if it was 3-4.
We'll see where they are. USF this week down in Tampa. A rare,
weird game.
A rare road game. Technically on campus at a true road venue for Nick Saban on the road coming up this weekend, and then it becomes an SEC schedule for them. Well, Ole Miss comes calling, and that becomes an interesting, matchup of another offensive mind like Sark against Alabama, and can points, be limited on the other side because it doesn't look like you'll be able to turn out 30 or 40 every week from the offense like you used to do. All right, let's do our 4 downs today.
Slice, 4 locations, local pizza, local ingredients. Stop in, see the Bajaya brothers. Tell them the next round sent you. You're going to absolutely love it. The locations, Lakeview, Vestavia, Montevallo, Crestline Park. For more information, slicebirmingham.com.
First down.
Worst loss by an SEC team so far. and consider who you are too in this. Like, I mean, some people would say it's Alabama to Texas. Some may say Texas A&M to Miami.
It's A&M to Miami. I mean, Texas is at least a legit program. A&M just looked, and Alabama didn't look great against Texas, but they're leading going to the fourth quarter. A&M, their defense got shredded by, I'm still going to say, a mid-tier ACC team.
Yeah, but I do think when you give Tyler Van Dyke that type of time, I mean, 5 touchdowns, no picks. And Connor Wegman, I mean, he forced a couple of throws, but he played pretty well. If you would have told me A&M scoring 33 points on Saturday against a team that only scored 7 against you last year, DJ Durkin's defense has some problems. It's funny, I think the offense flipped around. But to me, the
defense has gone the wrong way.
Yeah, the defense has gone the wrong way. I mean, a close runner-up is Florida against Utah because they were completely lost. But I would say the worst is A&M.
Jacoby George from Miami and a couple of their players look so much faster than
they did.
Really 4 or 5-star defensive players, SEC speed at Texas A&M. I was surprised at Miami's speed.
Oh, man. Defensively, too, the way they closed.
Yeah.
This Miami team, to me, is – if you're doing the power rankings, after North Carolina struggling again with Appy State, it's got to be Florida State 1. It's got to be Miami 2.
Hey, and by the way, A&M's defense laid down a little bit in that second half, I thought. And I thought the same thing about LSU's defense against Florida State. So that's very concerning.
Second down.
Both unbeaten, and I will give you both behind Michigan. But right now, more faith in Ohio State or Penn State? And neither have been tested.
Penn State's better at quarterback. Yeah, I do know that.
Penn State is better at quarterback. Penn State, I don't know what has happened to Illinois' defense. We'll talk to Klatt about that in a little bit. But they go to Champaign. They're only 12.5-point favorites. I want to see Drew Aller in that environment. But I would say right now more concerning for me is Ohio State.
I did not really think Notre Dame could beat Ohio State, but boy, I do now. I mean, that is a. In fact, if you made me pick it right now, I think I'd take Notre Dame.
Boy, that was a weird game with the weather delay.
It was, but they
I got
dominated
confused.
after that
I thought the
weather
end of
delay.
the first half was the end of the game.
It was crazy.
It was. And then Brennan Armstrong, if he doesn't turn it over, they're going in. They got a chance to tie it up in the second half, and then it completely unraveled.
And Notre Dame's ability, if they can run the ball like they've run in these first few games against Ohio State.
Yeah, the Audric Estime kid, that kid can play.
Yeah, but Aller is the difference at quarterback for Penn State. He looks like the real deal. They haven't really been tested yet, but so far.
And Allen and Singleton are 5-star guys. They are great running backs.
Checks the boxes so far.
Third down.
If you had to bet whatever testicles you have left on a Heisman Trophy winner right now, where do you go?
I would go Caleb Williams.
You would go Caleb Williams?
Watching them against Saturday, they could have scored 100 points, and they just completely let off at halftime.
Still the betting favorite at plus 450.
Yeah, and I'm not going to – and this is one of those things, the media, they like to get a little I don't know.
They don't like to vote for a guy 2 years in a row.
No, but this might be the year because there hasn't been one in so long. And if Caleb Williams, has 60 total touchdowns, which he might at the end of the year – and USC's defense has looked better the last 2 weeks.
We all know it has to have some team success, so how good USC ends up being could help him repeat as well.
Same conference, different player, Michael Penix Jr.
Yeah,
He's have not incredible football.
Those are the two best teams to me in the Pac-12. I mean, Utah, Oregon are right there. Oregon State's really good. But I think right now Washington and USC are your best teams.
Brand name, big win on the road. Quinn Ewers jumped in the conversation.
He did,
He's
no doubt.
Fourth in betting, all the way up to plus 1,100 now.
Well, Shedeur Sanders, say what you want. I doubted him. I thought in Nebraska had their opportunities early, but that kid can play.
Yeah, 8th right now. He's rising on the board as well, is Shedeur Sanders. And you're not kidding. He was a very patient, delivers the ball on time. Everyone continues to talk about his decision-making.
Fourth down.
Having a hard time.
Celebrity birthday.
Nope, here it is.
Crap.
A higher rating. How high will Colorado go in the rankings this year? Just mentioned Shedeur. They're up now to 18 in the AP poll. They'll beat Colorado State. Where do they top out in the AP poll this year?
I think it's 15. I think it's next week, a week from today.
And you don't think they get back that high again?
No, I think they get mud stomped the 2 weeks after that, and I don't think they ever see the top 25 again.
You agree?
It's going to be hard for them to climb back in once they're out, just because that schedule is going to be unforgiving for them once they get back to
both of you saying they lose at Oregon and then at home to USC?
I think they lose both those games.
Yeah. And then they probably, They are night and day better than they were last year. They probably beat Arizona State. They probably beat Stanford. I think they lose to UCLA. I think they lose to Oregon State. Arizona toss-up. I think they lose to Washington State and Utah. I mean, they're still going to be close to a 5-6 win team.
And we said it. If he goes to a bowl, give him Coach of the Year. And he's put himself in a position where he's got a shot at a bowl game.
Yeah. In fact, after they win this week, they'll be 3-0. And Luke said today that they'll get to 6 wins likely without having to beat anyone they're not supposed to beat at this point forward.
Yeah, I think they're 6-6 at the end of the year.
And that ought to be Coach of the Year for Prime, in my opinion.
Yeah, national or Pac-12?
I'd go national.
Yeah, it wouldn't bother me. I mean, that team was awful last year.
Yeah, they were nowhere close last year. Yeah. That's one of the best flip arounds we've ever seen.
JohnstonRVCenter.com. I don't really understand Cut 13 Rockstar. Shadur Sanders.
Is it in Spanish?
Shadur Sanders afterwards. It was personal because Matt Rule disrespected them before the game. I don't know what Matt Rule did before the game. I read somewhere that he was walking on the Buffalo at midfield.
What's at midfield? What's he supposed to do? You're going to run all over him?
No, Texas, I think they were taking shits at Bryant Denny. I mean, they weren't moving off the logo Saturday night.
More on that in a second. But here's Shadur afterwards, and then I don't know what Matt Rule did, but maybe it's the old Georgia. They said we'd be 7-5, and maybe it was one of those where they told them they did something. But this was Shadur after the game.
Were you guys able to really buy into this rivalry, and what did it feel like out there?
It was extremely personal. We go out there, warm up. You got the head coach for the other team trying to stand in the middle of the buff. Like, it's okay if like a couple players do it, it's fine, Like, just enjoy the scenery. But when you got the whole team trying to disrespect it, then I'm not going for that at all. So I went in there and disrupted it. So they knew off rip, like, the Buffaloes mean a lot to me. And personally, that's what I was saying pregame, and that's when I knew it was just extreme disrespect. And that's why it was the coach said a lot of things about my pops, about the program, but now that he want to act nice, I don't respect that, because you hating on another man, you shouldn't do that. So it was just all respect was gone for them in their program.
Wow, I do not remember Matt Rule saying bad things about Prime.
If he would have, we would have heard about
absolutely.
this.
And boy, Shadur has found an affinity for that Buffalo in 8 months, hasn't he?
Yeah,
I mean, do not disrespect the Buffalo.
Do you think he even knows the name's Ralphie? That's going to be a hard team to pull for. Like, I like Deion, but watching them on Saturday, it's like old school Miami. Like, they get unsportsmanlikes when they're up 20 points, and that's going to end up getting them beat. And I just wonder how they handle losses when they're coming up.
But people used to say that about Miami, and it didn't get them beat.
No, it did not.
That fed into the recruiting, and it fed into the mystique and the win, so much so they've done 2 30-for-30s.
Oh, look, I mean, if Colorado continues to play like this, he's going to get players and players and players, and they're ultimately going to be a national power. But they're still not ready this year, and Nebraska's offense is so bad.
Yeah, every week can't be a grudge match, and that's what they'll have to find their motivation elsewhere. And Prime can do that. He's a good coach.
Kevin says, I believe Rule criticized how Deion was working the transfer portal during the summer or something like that. It wasn't a big deal, or they would have brought it back up on the pregame shows a lot this weekend.
I mean, I would assume he said what we were saying. Like, you go in, you clean house without even knowing any of these players. And, there's something to a little bit of loyalty.
Top of the hour now, Joel Klatt joins us at 10:25. He was on the call of that game both weeks. We'll talk to him about what he saw breaking down the Alabama tape as well. Joel Klatt with us at 10:25. The show brought to you by JohnstonRVCenter.com.
Cherokee is the #1 selling brand of the country, the #1 selling brand of the state of Alabama, and Johnston RV Center is the #1 Cherokee dealer in all of the state of Alabama. From the Gray Wolf, the Alpha Wolf, fifth wheels like the Arctic Wolf, toy haulers like the Wolf Pack, multiple floor plans, and they start at $199 a month. They thank the military for all they've done, making this the greatest country in the universe, no exceptions, and they give you a great discount. Whether you're uniformed or retired military, ask about that discount at Johnston RV Center, I-65, exit 304 in Coleman, 334 indicator, always online, JohnstonRVCenter.com.
Follow The Next Round on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Next Round Live.
Hey, Lance Taylor from the Next Round. You've heard me for years talk about our friends at Bromberg's Jewelers, and we welcome you to stop by and see that great customer service at the Mountain Brook and Summit locations. But we'd also love for you to check out their new online shop. They've got plenty to choose from. Great gifts, big and small. Available online, they've got David Yurman, Tudor watches, select diamond and gemstone jewelry, William Henry, seasonal and favorite giftware items, and baby gifts as well. They've even got an online sale section. For more information, Brombergs.com. As summer starts to fade, get ready to welcome the arrival of fall. But hey, it's not just football season making an entrance. In the world of pest, it's fall invader season. Hold on tight because we've got 4 major troublemakers stepping into the spotlight. Box elder bugs, kudzu bugs, ladybugs, and stink bugs. These pests don't just knock, they barge in like they own the place. But fear not, dial up Wayne's Pest Control now, 865-588-6686, and let's show those fall invaders who's boss. Don't let pests crash your party. Take charge today. Stop by the New York Butcher Shop and pick up the finest in certified Angus prime beef steaks and burgers, premium pork chops, ribs, and all-natural chicken cut to order just for you. Their chef-prepared entrees and side dishes are the perfect dinner-to-go choice for your family and are ready to heat at home. With a great selection of fine wines and desserts, the New York Butcher Shop is your one-stop dinner shop. 2 locations to serve you, Cahaba Heights and on Highway 119 in Greystone. The New York Butcher Shop, rare quality, well-done service. Want more of the show? Download the app or visit nextroundlive.com for the latest podcast. The Mystery Fifth Hour, our Not For All Ages podcast, The Last Call, and our entire Double Down Media podcast family. All at nextroundlive.com and on the Next Round app. IV therapy, B12 injections, cryotherapy, and compression therapy, all under one roof. It's our friends at Hydra Live Therapy. IV therapy treatments are packed with nutrients to increase energy, reduce stress and anxiety, and boost your immune system, and more. If you mention the Next Round at checkout, save 20% off any service. You can join the IV League today. Members are rewarded with deep discounts. Make sure you ask about that. Hydra Life Therapy open 7 days a week. Homewood, Tuscaloosa, and coming soon to Greystone.
The Next Round is brought to you in part by the biggest, baddest track in NASCAR, Talladega Superspeedway. This beast is 2.5 miles of nothing but pure speed and always puts on a great show for the fans. The Yellowwood 500 NASCAR Playoffs weekend is coming and you do not want to miss it. Saturday, September 30th is the Craftsman Truck Series Playoffs race, followed by Sunday's Yellowwood 500 in the NASCAR Cup Series Playoffs. Be there to see drivers battle 500 miles to survive. Get your tickets now at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
Want more of the show? Download the app or visit nextroundlive.com for the latest podcast. The Mystery Fifth Hour, our Not For All Ages podcast like Bama and Bourbon, and the entire Double Down Media podcast family. All at nextroundlive.com and on the Next Round app.
Jim Dunaway, Lance Taylor, Ryan Brown, and Rockstar. Live from the Birmingham Racecourse Casino Studios, The Next Round, presented by Bud Light, is on now.
All right, another hour here on the show. Joel Klatt in the next segment. Jim Dunaway, Lance Taylor, Ryan Brown. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Our friends at Bud Light. Bud Light game night last week at Top Golf was so much fun. Your chance to win Alabama and Auburn tickets with a QR code. You got to come out every week to get that QR code. This week, we're going to be at Tin Roof Thursday night down in the Lakeview area. Tin Roof. We're there 5 to 7. The show's on our video platform 6 to 7, but come by, swing by 5 to 7. Enjoy a cold one on your way home from work and get that QR code. And then we're doing some Monday nights as well.
Yeah, so we're going to do one Monday night a month. We'll be out there tonight getting ready for the Bills and the Jets with our friends from Bud Light. We're going to be at Beef O'Brady's, the Hoover location. What is that shopping center called?
That is
It's called the Lunsford Shopping Center.
I'm being told it's called the Grove.
The Grove is correct, Rockstar.
Yes, so we will be out there 5 to 7. We're going to have some Bud Light people are going to be hanging out with us. We'll have some swag to give away. We will also have some great Bud Light specials. So come join us tonight, 5 to 7. That's at Beef O'Brady's at the Grove in Hoover.
All right, let's take a look at our AP Top 25 that came out yesterday, presented by our friends at Odie's right here. The AP Top 25 still has Georgia at number 1, but their first place votes have whittled down to 55. Michigan's got 2 first place votes at number 2. Florida State has 3 at number 3, and Texas is all the way up to number 4. They've got 2 first place votes. Did you know since 2016, only Alabama, Clemson, LSU, and Georgia have ever been ranked number 1 in the AP poll. So since 2016, one of those 4 teams have been ranked every week at number 1 in the AP poll. Michigan, Florida State, and Texas, and then USC are starting to scare that a little bit.
Boy, I'll tell you what a difference one win makes, because if Alabama holds on and has a sloppy win against Texas going into that fourth quarter, if something breaks their way, Sark is 14-13 in 3 years.
That's wild.
Yeah, he's only 15-12 now, but
but he's number 4 now.
The narrative would be so different.
Yeah, I mean, we've had this discussion already. Who do you trust in the SEC? When I look at that top 10, I don't know who I entirely trust. Georgia has played nobody, and they've looked bad at times doing it. Michigan has played nobody. Florida State and Texas at least are tested, I think.
Yep. Yeah, we think.
I don't know.
I mean, I think Michigan's the best team in football, but
I mean, how do I know that?
Yeah, you don't.
Awful teams they've played.
Again, it's going to be a wild-ass year.
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay, now you look at that. Hold that up there, Forrester. You see Alabama at number 10.
Mm-hmm.
You know everything that's got to happen before the season is done. And keep in mind that 15 straight seasons, at one point or another during the course of the year, Alabama has been to number 1. For 15 straight seasons, at some point,
crazy.
Alabama has been number 1 in the country in the AP poll.
They will not get there this year.
They're going to have to win
the rest of them.
The rest of them and beat Georgia in the SEC championship game to get there. And even then, if Michigan hasn't lost, they would probably still be number 1. So, I mean, they may have to win the national championship to do it.
Yeah, 15 straight years, longest streak ever, that they've been number 1 at some point, and that streak is in jeopardy of being there. Also in jeopardy, as they hang on at number 10 there, they have not been outside the top 10 for 128 weeks. The record is the Miami Hurricanes from 1985 to 93, who went 137 weeks without dropping out of the top 10. Alabama held on a little bit there. So they got to win impressively this week and not get jumped by Tennessee, Utah, Oregon, LSU, Kansas State, and then keep winning to keep that streak alive as well.
I'm not sure Tennessee wins this week. We'll get to that as the week goes. So, that'll help there. And they should beat. Listen, if you can't beat South Florida, and Bama's favorite, it opened at 31. I do think Alabama is probably going to use this game to evaluate some of these other quarterbacks. I would guess. I don't know. They didn't really do that against Middle. At some point, I guess you got to see if any of these guys could play. If you're not going to go if you're not just already decided you're going to go with Milroe, and this is your last chance to do it before a 5-game SEC streak that's got a lot of losable games in it.
Yeah, I wonder if you make a couple of adjustments on that offensive line,
like a guy that could get the ball to the quarterback.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, that's what
Nick Saban said afterwards. It never happens in practice, but it has happened a lot in 2 games.
Yeah, especially Saturday night. And that's one thing. Look, Milroe didn't play a great game, but when a couple snaps are coming at his feet, now you've just given a young, inexperienced quarterback whose head's swimming one more thing he's got to worry about, right? I mean, he's already having to worry about the pass rush coming at him because you can't block.
Yeah.
He's already having to worry about reading against a really good defense in Texas and finding open receivers. Now I got to worry about the ball getting to me.
And his 5-star true freshman over there is not fantastic at pass protection.
Right, yeah.
So you got to worry about my blind side.
Yeah, and my backs aren't picking up the pass rush at all.
They must be horrible. I mean, Haynes must be really bad at that.
Yeah.
Because he's not getting in the game. Jim Miller finally breaks it into the game. But you're right, Jace and Roydell are not great at picking up, at helping you out.
So I got a million things going on, and now all of a sudden I got to worry about the ball bouncing to me every other play. I mean, it's just, again, Milroe didn't play great, but when you start to factor more stuff like that in, that's just, it's only going to make it worse.
That's why I say it's more than a Jalen Milroe problem.
There's no doubt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't, some people say if Milroe wasn't in there, Tyler Buckner would have been sacked 16 times because of the amount of pressure Texas was turning up the heat there. He wouldn't be able to avoid it. I don't know. We'll see what happens down the road. One more thing on that. By the way, the last time they were outside of the top 10, Alabama, 2015.
Oh, that was wasn't that the game they played at Georgia? I think they played at Georgia. They were outside the top 10 in 2015.
After losing to Ole Miss.
Yeah, and Jake Coker led them to the win in Athens, and then
a
they
lot
never
of
looked
rain,
back.
right?
Yeah, it was a rain game, and Alabama dominated Georgia that day. And I think that was
that was the last time they went off as an underdog.
Yeah, I was about to say a regular season underdog.
And they went on to win the national championship.
They did do that, yeah.
Does that feel like that's happening this year?
I will tell you this: there were a lot of questions at quarterback at that game, and a lot of questions about your defense because you've just been lit up by Ole Miss.
Yep.
And there were a lot of questions about quarterback. Jake Coker, now part of our family here, managed to cobble that thing together and lead him to a national championship.
Funny you should say that, Brown.
What, Jim?
That he's part of our family here. Rockstar cut number 5. This is our Odie's sound from the Disrupt Media platform, brought to you by our friends at Odie's. We'll get a little Jake Coker here after you tell us about the great folks at Odie's.
Yeah, Birmingham Institution. Get in and see Will Haver and that great staff, Rodney Davis, for lunch or dinner, cooking up incredible food. Award-winning wings, burgers, delicious sandwiches, including the Diablo sandwich, ice-cold beer buckets, full of Bud Light. Remember, every Wednesday night, Odie's Team Trivia. Come see us, Odie's Tavern, Crestline Village.
This is Elephant in the Room. Is this the one before the game, the Texas game? Okay, this is Jake Coker with our buddy Mick Gillespie, and they do Elephant in the Room. Go follow and subscribe Roll Tide Pods. Roll Tide Pods is where you get this. You can like and subscribe there. That'll give you all the Alabama stuff that we produce at Disrupt the Media. Go follow Disrupt the Media as well. Like and subscribe everywhere. But this is before the Texas loss. Jake Coker and Mick talking about something Jake thinks Nick Saban sort of appreciates.
Nick Saban always seems to be a coach who almost expects to have that one loss so that he can kind of like
say, I think he kind of likes it.
I do too. You know? I know it's a weird thing, right?
Ever since then, watching Alabama, I'm like, if we lose within the first 3 or 4 games, it might not be a bad thing. Just checking everybody at the door, and then you got to get right, and you can't screw up anymore.
That's wow. Elephant in the room. It's the earliest loss under Saban. It's not an SEC loss. It feels different to me than it has in the past, but Jake says and Mick says it's almost something the old ball coach likes a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with you. It does feel different. Again, it's his first double-digit loss at home as Alabama's head coach. The offensive line feels so different, and to lose this early and still have to navigate that SEC schedule, this just feels a lot different. Now, I'll say this. Going back last year, LSU looked absolutely horrific against Florida State. They made adjustments, and they were able to pull away and win the SEC West. So Alabama's still got a ton of talent, but the offensive line's got to get better. Milroe's got to make better reads. The defense has got to get pressure on the quarterback. I mean, there's a lot. It's not one area, and that's another thing that's got to be concerning. If you could just say, hey, the offensive line's going to get better, there's a lot that's got to get better.
Yeah, I mean, they had been torched by Ole Miss that year, 43-37, to your point. The year Coker was the starter. I mean, he lived this, and
wasn't a starter in that Ole Miss game. Everyone's pointing out that they were all over they were throwing darts at who the quarterback was going to be.
That's right. They were not. The story behind that is Lane Kiffin wasn't a Coker guy. Lane Kiffin wanted to see somebody else, right? And he got to see somebody else and realized Coker's my best option. I think Nick Saban was a Coker guy, and I think he was giving Lane a little bit of leeway to see if he could work this out. And they lost Game 3, which Lance just said this is Saban's earliest loss at Tuscaloosa, which is the case. But that one was Game 3. I mean, there are a lot of similarities here. And Alabama's defense got torched by Hugh Freeze in that game. They turned it over 5 times. Does that sound familiar? 5 times. Now, Alabama turned over 5 Saturday night, but key turnovers.
How was that offensive line, though?
Well, it was good enough to win a national championship.
Yeah.
But
you also had Derrick Henry.
You did. Yeah. No, there's big differences in this, too.
You could do a lot of this.
Yeah.
You could lean on Derrick Henry a whole lot.
And they figured that out.
Third and whatever, give it to Derrick Henry.
I like Jace McClellan, but you know what you're getting with Jace. Did we not hear these off-season reviews for both Jam Miller and Justice Haynes?
Yeah, but you know what you don't do a ton of is have to pick up pressures.
In high school.
In high school, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And I just don't know how much you can replicate it in scrimmages and spring games and stuff like that, Jim. Like, I think sometimes that has to flesh it. I think you probably go into it thinking, I don't think he's great picking up the pressures. And then in a game, God, he was awful picking them up. When the quarterback was hot and the lineman's or the linebacker or the blitzer's not pulling off so he doesn't hit the quarterback, all of a sudden I realize just how bad this kid is picking up pressures.
Yeah.
And Saban's not going to play you. If you fumble the ball as a backer, you can't pick up the pressures. You are not seeing the field.
Well, that's not just a Saban thing.
No, it's not.
Sean Alexander stayed out of the lineup for weeks.
That's an NFL MVP you're talking about.
Yeah, until they had to have him in Baton Rouge that night. Our friends Dobel Diamante, Maestro Dobel Diamante Tequila, made with 100% pure agave, the exceptional tequila, unique in the category because it's a blend of extra añejo and reposado tequilas. It's aged in a Eastern European barrel from the Balkan region, just gives it a robust taste, but yet it's soft as well. It's a unique tequila. The result is a pleasant contrast and a crystal clear tequila. It's the best in the business. Maestro Dobel Diamante Tequila. Check it out and order it by name wherever you get your tequila. As we talk about college football, best performance of the weekend. Joel Klatt's in the next segment. Best performance of the weekend other than Texas for you guys? Is there a team that pops to mind for you?
Probably, I mean, we criticize Texas A&M's performance, but if Miami is going to be a player in the ACC, they showed a lot of promise. I still doubt, Lance, that they're going to be a player in the ACC, but that was a dominant second-half performance by them at home.
So Missouri beat Kansas State last year. Kansas State goes to Columbia. They're only 2.5-point favorites. Missouri struggled with Middle Tennessee State. I was going to say Kansas State completely dominated a really good Troy team that had the second longest winning streak in college football. I mean, that game wasn't even close. Will Howard was fantastic, but now that's so weird that they're only a 2.5-point favorite. You guys know how that normally works out. So as soon as I say Kansas State had the best win of the weekend, at least the most dominant win, they probably lose this weekend to Missouri.
Yeah. I just want to look real quick, Jim, at Miami's schedule. Again, not 100% believer here yet. I think a lot of that.
They don't have Clemson this year, do they?
Yeah. They play them at home.
I think they won't Clemson this year.
I mean, they don't, and they got Florida State too, which you
Where's
maybe
that
don't
game?
want. That game is at Doak Campbell. So they got to go on the road to Florida State, Saturday, November 11th. A lot of football between now and then.
Yeah, Charles is asking, is this year the ACC finally gets the Miami-Florida State championship game that we thought we would see every other year, and we've never seen it?
You mentioned that on our postgame show that this could be the year we finally get that.
Yeah, I think it could.
Well, I tell you what, I think Miami, Jim, is probably going to be undefeated when they host Clemson. They've got Bethune-Cookman and at Temple the next two. They should win both those. After a bye week, they get Georgia Tech, and then they're at North Carolina. That game could be tricky, but that North Carolina team fought to beat App State Saturday night.
They really did.
I mean, had to fight tooth and nail to beat App State.
They really did. I don't think Drake May had a touchdown pass in that game.
He did in overtime. I think the game winner in overtime, if I'm not mistaken, was a touchdown pass.
But in regulation,
yeah,
it did not.
I could be wrong about that.
4 weeks from now, I think, Red River Shootout. We've already previewed the new items at the Texas State Fair. Oklahoma. That was a good win for me against SMU. I don't think SMU is that bad, and Oklahoma won that game pretty handily. And Dylan Gabriel looking pretty good at quarterback. They're playing a little bit better defensively.
Oh, they're improved.
Oklahoma's improved. That's be a fun game.
So Brent Venables was taking a lot of heat after 6 and 7 last year. I think he has an improved team. Mario Cristobal was taking a lot of heat last year. In year 2, I think he's got an improved team.
Yeah, that's some of the big games. We continue with your best and worst of the weekend over there. Brought to you by our friends at Hemp Hill. Why don't you tell us about Hemp Hill, LT? I know you have used them many times, just like Rockstar has.
I've used them too many times, but look, that's the good and bad. The bad is things are happening around the house, but the good is you've got Hemp Hill, the name that Birmingham has trusted since 1954 for all of your plumbing, heating, and cooling needs. Hard to stop a train. Call the guys, Adam, Chad, Andrew, right now at Hemp Hill Services. Make sure you tell them the next round sent you, 205-229-2090 or hemphillservices.com.
Pretty light slate coming up this weekend, to say the least. If you look at my TV schedule or my worksheet that I send out, I highlight all the SECs and the locals already all the time in the UABs. But then I try to highlight some of the big games. I've got just one pink on there this week, and that's Minnesota and North Carolina, 2:30 on ESPN.
And that's a stretch.
Best games of the week. Minnesota, North Carolina, Washington at Michigan State, but Washington should kill them.
Yeah, Michigan State's without a coach right now.
Pitt at West Virginia, Kansas State at Missouri, Tennessee at Florida. I mean, is that Tennessee-Florida game going to be any good?
Oh, yeah, I think it is. I think Florida's got a real shot here. Tennessee opened as a 4-point favorite on the road. I was not impressed with Tennessee playing Austin Peay.
I saw it 9.5. Are you seeing 4 right now?
Yeah, it was 4 at Circa.
Okay.
Yeah.
I saw 9.5 at Scores and Odds yesterday, but that could
somebody check our guys at mybookie.ag.
Let me see what MyBookie's got.
I would say 9.5 seems more. Actually, I would post that number at 7. So I would have it kind of in between both of those. BYU Arkansas could be good. I don't know.
BYU Arkansas could be good. LSU Mississippi State could be good.
Oh, yeah. LSU's only a 7-point favorite. Yeah. That's a tough game for LSU.
In Starkville, we'll get to see what they had. A gutsy win for them in overtime, right?
Yeah, overtime.
Win.
But again, they were +5 in turnovers. And when you've got a team in Arizona coming all the way out from the West and turning the football over 5, Jaden DeLaura had 3, I don't know if you guys watched it, 3 picks in the first quarter. We backed Arizona +9.5, and we ultimately got there in overtime. But, man, that was tough to watch.
Yeah. 7 is where that game is right now. I'm going to double-check right here at Circa because I swear Circa's the first one to put the odds out.
Yeah, 7's the right number here.
Sundays.
And I could see that game go either way.
Yeah, I thought I saw it at 4 there, but I'll double-check. I do have some good news, and it actually impacts that game. It is being reported now. What happens tonight for the first time on TV all year long?
Monday Night Football.
So what do you think Charter and ESPN are thinking? Okay, well, we got Bills-Jets, one of the best Monday night games of the year. And,
yeah, need to get that fixed.
And they did. Yeah.
They did.
Yeah, that's
just
the way
in time for Monday Night Football.
Just in time for Monday Night Football. It's being reported. Charter and Disney have reached a deal that will get ESPN back on. So that's good news for all you Charter customers.
Yeah, and they just probably have to flip a switch somewhere as they play games with us. Before we take a break and talk to Klatt, an extended time with Klatt coming up on the other side. Forrester, give me that Photoshop from some Texas fan or some great media person. I don't know who it is. We got credit for him. It's Kyle. Kyle UM Lang there. That's a really good Photoshop right there. Bevo standing on an elephant in the middle of Bryant-Denny Stadium. I don't know if that's AI that does that kind of stuff or what, but that's a great looking.
That's not real?
It was late after the game Saturday night.
All I could think of was in the Aflac commercial where Saban says an elephant would have been scarier. That longhorn there, pretty scary scene there in Tuscaloosa this past week. Atmosphere is really good, though. I don't know how it played on television.
It was fantastic. Fowler mentioned it early on. It's like, man, this place is deafening right now.
Yeah, really good atmosphere. You know, that place takes a beating sometimes on not being the toughest place to play in the SEC. But Nick Saban and company have changed how it is on game days there. They do a great job with game day ops, and Chip and all the Texas folks were just impressed with the atmosphere there. And I said, wait till you get some more of these in the SEC. Said it's almost, other than Vandy, no matter where you go, the crowd's different, but it's intense for big games everywhere you go in the SEC. All right, our friends at NASCAR takes us a break here really fast, and then we'll talk to Joel Klatt. NASCAR coming to Talladega September 30th, October 1st. Get those tickets right now at TalladagaSuperspeedway.com, TalladagaSuperspeedway.com. And the Hardy concert comes with your tickets. That's Saturday night in the infield. And then the Yellowwood 500 on Sunday. TalladagaSuperspeedway.com. Let's go racing with Talladega September 30th, October 1st. TalladagaSuperspeedway.com.
Take the next round anywhere you go with official Next Round gear. Buy yours today at nextround.store.
Football season is here, and Legacy Credit Card is just what you need to manage your spending safely and wisely. Credit cards offer better consumer protection against fraud when compared to a debit card, which is linked directly to your bank account. Legacy offers rates as low as 8.9% APR on credit cards compared to major card providers who advertise rates as high as 29% APR. Look no further than Legacy. Open a credit card online in minutes at legacycreditunion.com/join. APR's annual percentage rate, rates, and offers subject to change. See website for details. Federally insured by NCUA. Start your day online with our website, nextroundlive.com. The latest videos, podcasts, and college football stories. It's also a great way to stream the show or shop in the Next Round store. Stay connected by visiting nextroundlive.com. That's nextroundlive.com. No one does happy hour like Twin Peaks. Whatever your preference, we have everything from tequila cocktails and an extensive bourbon category to local craft beers and handcrafted whiskey cocktails. And don't forget about that 29-degree man-sized drafts. It's Twin Peaks at the Patton Creek Shopping Centers. Hey, Lance Taylor from the Next Round to tell you about our friends at Gutter Cap. Gutter Cap's that patented aluminum cover system that fits over most existing gutters to keep out debris and eliminate that gutter cleaning. It's backed with a lifetime warranty, almost 20-year service record right here in Birmingham. Stay off that dangerous ladder forever. 45% off the retail price now if you call GutterCapBirmingham.com. Call my good friend Chris Stewart now, 205-823-2212. Cap it, don't snap it. It's Gutter Cap. IV therapy, B12 injections, cryotherapy, and compression therapy all under one roof. It's our friends at HydroLive. Mention Next Round at checkout. Save 20% off any service. HydroLive's got 3 locations, Homewood, Tuscaloosa, and coming soon to Greystone.
Want more of the show? Download the app or visit nextroundlive.com for the latest podcast, The Mystery Fifth Hour, our Not For All Ages podcast, The Last Call, and the entire Double Down Media podcast family. All at nextroundlive.com and on the Next Round app.
It's time to get out and enjoy the summer of 2023. Ocean City, Maryland, and your hotel family at Residence Inn by Marriott Ocean City is ready to welcome you. Kayak from our Bayside Beach, swim in the Atlantic, dine at our Bayview Bar and Grill, span the 2.5-mile-long Ocean City Boardwalk, and a lot more. See all this plus irresistible summer deals and packages online at residenceinnoc.com. Check us out on Instagram and Facebook. Do something different this summer. Residence Inn by Marriott Ocean City, Maryland.
The Next Round brought to you by the biggest and baddest track in NASCAR, the Talladega Super Speedway. The Yellowwood 500 NASCAR Playoffs weekend is coming up. You don't want to miss it. The action kicks off Saturday, September 30th with the Craftsman Truck Series Playoffs race, all leading up to the NASCAR Cup Series Playoffs on Sunday, October the 1st. Be there to see these drivers battle for 500 miles to survive and advance to the next round of the playoffs. Get your tickets now at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com. Again, that is TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
Joel Klatt in just a second. Way to Wellness, your journey to healthy living. Leslie, your board-certified team, man, she had to work hard. Well, she's already got the plan for me, but I have to work hard getting back to the plan after a football Saturday. Ate a little bit on Saturday. I woke up early, had a big breakfast, did our pregame show, watched the 11 o'clock kickoff, snacked a little bit, drove to Tuscaloosa, found a place for a nice lunch, got to the stadium, had a little snack in the press box. Halftime, had a little hot dog action. We finished at 2:30 in the morning with our post game, or when I was driving back, had a little hamburger on the drive back. Woke up Sunday, had to get back to it. Way to Wellness, your journey to healthy living. Control your blood pressure, cholesterol, and start the weight loss. At the website, aplanforme.com, aplanforme.com, your journey to healthy living. It's our friends at Way to Wellness.
All right, mybookie.ag brings you Joel Klatt every single Monday. The Big Noon Kick has seen a lot of Colorado, and boy, Colorado has been impressive in both of those games. We'll get to that and talk all college football with Klatt right now on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. What is up, Joel Klatt? How are you today?
Good. How are you guys? What's going on?
Man, we're doing fantastic. I guess let's start with Colorado, Nebraska. I was a doubter. I thought Nebraska would play better in that game. I did not know their quarterback was actively playing for Colorado. I mean, every Colorado score in the first half, Jeff Sims contributed to, and it was just wild to watch.
I think both things can be true. I think you can be impressed with Colorado for playing what I would consider to be okay to poor and still win going away, which is what, if you're a good team, that's kind of what you should do. And then you can also say, like, Nebraska has just major issues offensively. They don't have wide receivers that can get open, and they don't have a quarterback right now. And I feel bad for Jeff Sims. I mean, he's a good kid who's been on a long road to this point, and he's got some ability. You saw that on the long touchdown run. But, when you look at Colorado, three touchdowns and 6 red zone trips. They had, gave up 8 sacks, had something like 9 penalties. Most of those are fixable. 4 of them were false starts, right? So you think you can fix that. Another 4 were on sportsmanlike conduct. I think that's because they went so heavy on the kind of like this is personal type of deal and tried to buy into the rivalry a little bit too much. But having said that, once they settled down, they looked really good against what I would consider to be a pretty good defense. Nebraska has shown, at least over the first 2 weeks, like they can play competent defense. Very, very stout up front. They were getting pressure. Their secondary covered really well. They were forcing Shedeur to pat the ball, and he was uncomfortable, certainly. But you look up at the end of the day, and on the last 8 possessions that Shedeur is in the game, Colorado scores on 7 of those possessions. So this is still a really good team. And now they're going to have a Colorado State team, which they should beat. And then they get right into the meat of that Pac-12 schedule, which all of a sudden looks horrendously difficult. After next week, when they play Colorado State, they're going to play 6 of 9 weeks against ranked opponents. So, it's going to be tough for them moving forward. But right now, I think they've earned this top 20 ranking. I believe, based on the 2 performances, that they're absolutely a top 20 team.
Yeah, I'm like Brown, Joel. I doubted this team going into the game. I thought Nebraska would play much better. But, defensively, 33 snaps in the first half for Colorado, only 136 yards. And it seems like Nebraska's defense just finally was like, hell, we've got no support from this offense.
Yes.
They are putting us in the worst situations. I just didn't realize how good Sanders was at quarterback. I mean, that kid can legitimately play.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think after 2 weeks, that's absolutely the conclusion, and because that was a pass rush that was not easy to deal with, let's face it. And they were able to get home with 4. And then when you're getting pass rush and quick disruption in the pocket, and you're looking at sometimes, 7 and 8 guys in coverage, that's difficult for any quarterback. And that's what he was dealing with. But they eventually figured it out. He eventually got to the easy completions. Xavier Weaver was tremendous. And then when they did, here's the thing is, like, when you do give him time, man, it's a wrap. Like, that guy's going to find the open guy. He's going to attack the space. And that's when I've been most impressed with him. And that's going to be their charge moving forward. Because, listen, they're going to face defensive lines that can do what Nebraska did. And what they're going to have to figure out is, what is the game plan to try to keep him clean as best we can? Because when he's clean, he's been one of the better quarterbacks in the country.
Yeah, and when he has to, he can escape too and run the football. Yeah. And I admire the fact that he stays with it a long time. He doesn't just read 1 or 2 guys and then say, man, I can run out the back door here and get 8 or 9 yards. He'll sit in there.
Although
and wait.
I will tell you that the old quarterback in me, he took a couple of those sacks. I was like, ooh, I was like, bad sack. Can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and then he waits one time and he'll complete it for a touchdown or something. So I want to ask that question about Alabama, because they lose to Texas, and I don't get the high 22. I don't go back and watch it like you guys do. But as I went back and watched the game after being there in person, it seems a lot of times Alabama, back at Tennessee last year and then again on Saturday nights, trying to get home with 3 or 4 guys and dropping coverage, and it just ain't working. It's just not working.
No, they could not put pressure on Quinn Ewers in the second half. Just couldn't do it. And conversely, Texas was putting all sorts of pressure on Milroe. Also, the style of game was one in which Alabama was forced into throwing the ball, which that is a weakness of this version of Alabama, let's face it. Whereas Texas could kind of remain in their base offense and use the run and use misdirection and take shots. So, this game, if I was peeling it all back, there's only a few teams, there's only a few rosters in the country that can do to Alabama what Texas just did. That's why I don't feel like this is a sky is falling moment for Alabama. I really don't. But having said that, when you face a team like Texas, what I thought was the most surprising part was that Texas was way better in the second half, like substantially better at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, providing pressure with their defensive line and then owning the line of scrimmage with their offensive line. And that's something that I didn't really expect. And this is one of the things that Texas has really struggled with over the course of the last decade is a line of scrimmage play. I think the last 7-14 of that game is indicative of where Texas has been trying to get for a long time. Their offense never left the field after the 7-14 mark. I'm sure you guys have talked about it. They run 3 straight times. That should be a 3 and out against the Bama defense all day long. You know they're going to run. They do run. And Texas was still able to get the first down. That's the mark of a very dominant run game and offensive line, is when they know you want to run, and you know you want to run, and you can still be effective. So they get the first down. That forces Alabama into taking and burning their timeouts. So they take the 3 timeouts. And now it's the game. The game is on the line. I believe it's 3rd and 7. I can't believe the defensive play call that Alabama made. They didn't have any second-level defenders. It's like It's like Nick Saban has been burned by that little pick route, flat route too much in his career. You think back to Clemson, and it's just such a popular play. You get motion, and then you try to get a guy out into the flat. They had such heavy leverage on their back two levels, outside leverage, heavy outside leverage with their linebackers and secondary on that third down. And there was some confusion pre-snap. It felt like they were trying to maybe pressure, and there was some sort of like bracket and man. But there was no middle linebacker with a back in the backfield. This is not an empty backfield. There was no middle linebacker. It literally was just like, well, I guess if we just turn these two defensive tackles out, he just runs for a first down, game over. And I was blown away at that whole sequence. 7:14 left on the clock. Texas runs it 9 straight times and ends the game on the field. That blew me away.
Joel Klatt with us each week, courtesy of mybookie.ag. Your best insight of the Colorado game Saturday was when you said, watch Shedeur Sanders' feet. It tells you if he's comfortable with his read, if he can read it. If he's happy feet, he doesn't have the defense read. If he's solid in the pocket, he does. When you watch Jalen Milroe, and he's trying to read defenses, what do you see, and is it fixable?
That's a tough question to answer because I don't think it's fixable. Maybe it is.
Is he reading them, Joel? Do you think? Because
no,
a lot of the first
I think the point that I'm going to try to make is like I don't see a player reading defense. I see a player running plays, and it's this is the route I should throw on this play, and then there's very little outside of that. Now, if he doesn't like it, now he'll go through a progression here and there, but like the interception. It's a one-man route out on the edge, and the safety just runs directly under it. I'm like, you can't. I'm stuttering because it's like you can't throw that ball. You can't. That makes me nervous for them. And here's the thing: here's why I don't think that it's necessarily just one bad outing. Is because Tyler Buchner is there. And I don't know if we've talked about this. I'm sure I've talked about it on my show. I was really concerned for Alabama when Buchner transferred to Tuscaloosa. And because all you have to do is just like read between the lines. Tommy Reese was Buchner's coach last year. It means that they have a close relationship. All right. Especially if he would follow him anywhere. Tommy Reese would tell Buchner the absolute truth. He's not going to come here to sit. He doesn't want to come here to sit. So if Milroe impressed at all in the spring, there's zero chance Tyler Buchner would have transferred to Alabama. Zero. Tommy would have told him, like, no, man, we're good. You should find another place. There's certainly other teams that need quarterbacks. So the fact that he came there in the first place tells me they were really concerned after spring ball. It means that these same type of issues were happening in practice, and now they've crept into the season. I told you guys last week that the biggest key in the game was, and key for Alabama, and this will be the case moving forward, was can Milroe limit his turnovers and mistakes? Because they've got to play clean. They got to play with the lead. They've got to play clean. This is not a team that has a drastic margin of error like they did with Bryce Young and some of these other great quarterbacks. And when he doesn't play well, like they're going to be in tight ball games.
Klatt, the most interesting hire in the offseason, Bobby Petrino. Texas A&M, they've got an offense now. They ain't got a defense. And Tyler Van Dyke had like 7 seconds in the pocket every time, and he just completely lit that defense up. I give Miami a lot of credit, though. In year 2, we talked about their speed. They were down double digits early, and they come back and absolutely crush A&M.
Did you guys know that even with all the transfers, I'm just looking at some of my notes here. Even with all the transfers, A&M still has the 4th most talented roster in all of college football. Did you know that?
Yeah, it didn't look like it Saturday.
Yeah. Tell me,
That's
is Miami
the point.
Is Miami 1, 2, or 3?
No,
they weren't Saturday.
No, in fact, Alabama is number 1 on the talent composite. Then Georgia, then Ohio State, then Texas A&M, and Clemson. this is not working. Like, I don't know how else to say it. This is not working. This experiment at Clemson, or excuse me, at Texas A&M is not, it's not working. Yeah, they played fine on offense. You can't give up 48. By the way, they had a 17-7 lead. Lance, they basically got run out of the gym 41-16 from that point on. Oof. That's a drubbing. And you know, you look at what they've done now over the last few, and it's like, this is not a singular bad night. They've lost 7 straight road games going back to 2021. And their last 8 against Power 5 opponents. They're 1-7. I didn't say ranked teams. I didn't say against the elite of the SEC. I didn't say top 10 teams. I said just Power 5 teams. That's it. That's the barometer. They're 1-7 in their last 8, and they've got the 4th most talented roster in all of football. Something's not working. Something's not working. At this point, there's been enough changeover. There's been enough time where you can look at the head coach and say to yourself, like, okay, like, that's not working. And guess what? Here we go. $76.8 million after this year. $67.6 million after next year. $58.2 million after 2025, which means they're sitting here in their last 8 against Power 5 opponents, and they're 1-7. And it's going to take them 3 more years to just owe him $58 million.
Hey, honestly, how many people do you think A&M has out there digging for something to fire him with cause? Like, please pull a Mel Tucker.
Oh, gosh.
I mean, because you're right. And if I'm I said this earlier, I've said it a couple of times, TCU plays for a national championship right there in state. Texas seems like they have had their moment now, beating Alabama by double digits. And if I'm an A&M fan, we've recruited better than both of those, and we've got nothing to show for it.
Nothing. It's wild. And I've been hard on their fan base, because they can, they can be unique, I guess, is a good way to put it. I feel bad for them. Because they've done it. They've done their part. The fan base has done their part. Let's be honest, right? They built the stadium. They've donated. They've done it. They've come up with the contract. And look at what the opening at LSU did to college football 2 years before last season with Brian Kelly. You look what's going on at Michigan State. That contract was a direct result of the LSU opening. This contract for Jimbo, direct result of the LSU opening. To your point, yeah, I mean, yes, and that's the dirty side. But I'm sure that there's people digging like crazy, second only to like an election. Like,
I wouldn't leave the house if I'm Jimbo.
Yeah. Oh my gosh,
bubble wrap. Listen, before you go, it's a bad habit of mine and of this region of the country. When Alabama loses, we talk about what's wrong with Alabama. I just want to, I don't want to use the phrase Texas is back, but I have a feeling this Texas team has some staying power. Do you see it that way?
Yeah, absolutely, because this wasn't a kind of a normal fluky, win against Alabama. You guys know that. There's only been, guys, I don't know. I mean, a handful, maybe 5 times in Saban's tenure, like 15 years, that a team has done that to Alabama, been the better team at the line of scrimmage. That's why Texas has staying power. I'm with you. I hate the term Texas is back. Here's what I would say about Texas this year. With their quarterback, with their skill positions, and their line of scrimmage play, Texas is an elite team. Texas now, when I look at their schedule, along with Florida State and Georgia, those are the 3 easiest paths to the college football playoffs in this last 4-team edition. In particular, with the way Clemson looks, with what's going on in the SEC right now, it doesn't look like Georgia's going to get threatened at all until maybe the SEC championship game, and then you're going to face a very flawed LSU or flawed Alabama in that matchup. So between Georgia, FSU, and now Texas, those 3 paths are incredibly, well, they're just so much easier than, let's say, a Big Ten team's path, right? Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State all have to play each other. In the Pac-12, USC, Oregon, Washington, Utah, any of these teams.
Say it, Colorado. Say it, Colorado.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, there's 8 teams ranked, right? So those paths are incredibly difficult. The other three that I was talking about, so I really believe if I was betting right now and they were like, you have to give me 3 of the 4 correct playoff teams for this last 4-team edition, I would absolutely put Texas in that mix.
All right, big new kicks Saturday. Penn State, Illinois. Before you scoff, take a gander at the entire national schedule. Penn State, Illinois on Fox Saturday. Can't wait to see Drew Aller. He has looked really, really good for the first 2 weeks.
Where's Illinois' defense gone?
It's an atrocious week,
Yeah,
by the
it's
way.
a bad week.
There's
bad week.
Can we get more ranked matchups?
Yeah, wait till next
please?
week. Wait till week 4. Week 4, baby.
You got
Week 4
6
will be good.
next week, 6 ranked matchups next week,
know.
and that doesn't count Clemson and Florida State because Clemson's not ranked this week.
Have you all
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, have you all announced a week 4 spot yet?
We haven't. I think
Okay.
we are right now kind of waiting and holding out, like whether we're going to do Cincinnati, Oklahoma, which is not great because we don't have the first pick in the Big 12.
Oh, okay.
So Texas would probably go to them, and then we would probably have to fall towards and this is the game I've been arguing for. I'm giving you way too much information. I want UCLA, Utah. I think that would be a good.
Oh, heck
big
yeah.
game.
Dante Moore.
Good
Dante
week for
Moore's-
Dante Moore.
yeah,
Cam
absolutely.
Rising back.
Yeah.
I'll go my Gus voice. Cam Rising
Yeah,
back.
He's rising
Joel
up
Klatt,
from
we
the
got-
ashes, Klatt.
Joel, we got Cam Rising and the youngster Dante Moore.
I want more of Dante Moore.
Dante's Inferno. Am I right, Joel?
All right, he
Cameron is rising.
It's rising up from the ashes, Joel. Let's go to Jenny.
Shador, Hedor, we're all dooring in Boulder.
He's the best.
The best Gus moment of the day was when they did the tease for Skip Bayless's show, and he was like, "Skip realized he wasn't talking enough." So it was so funny.
I don't know if you heard. I literally didn't get to my mute button before I chuckled. I was trying.
Such a good line.
I came out of my seat in week 1 when he said he makes chicken salad. And I was like,
Yes.
oh, I was a standing ovation. I was in the sports room by myself, and I stood up, and I was like, yes, he made chicken salad.
Love me some guys. All right, big new kick. Illinois is at Penn State. Klatt, thank you very much for the time. Enjoy your week.
You got it. See you guys.
All right, buddy. Take care. Klatt with us, courtesy of mybookie.ag on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. Another week is coming up. In fact, you got Monday Night Football tonight. Great time to jump on mybookie.ag. Code next round, mybookie.ag. You can get an account for free, but any bonus gets that deposit bonus. And for a limited time, a free chip to use in the MyBookie Casino, a deposit bonus and a free chip in the MyBookie Casino. You can bet anything, anytime, anywhere, only with mybookie.ag. Odds boost, free bets, super contest, cash out early on parlays if you don't like the feel of that third game and your 3-game parlay. All of that is there at mybookie.ag. Code next round to get signed up at mybookie.ag. Don't forget, code next round. That's very important.
In fact, let's talk about Rockstar's viewing menu, which includes the Monday night game, and then a little NFL before we get back to the top of the hour and talking college football. We'll do that in the next segment, a little peek ahead to what we saw yesterday and Aaron Rodgers happening tonight. Biggest surprise for me was what Washington State's defense did to Wisconsin's run game this week in that big win at Wazoo.
Yeah, I was blown, and I thought that would be the difference. I backed Wisconsin, and I thought the combination of Braylon Allen and Ches Maluzzi would be the difference there. And, Mordecai wasn't great. Cam Ward can play. He can play, and Washington State, talking about keep it or making it personal, Jake Dickert and Washington State, they're the outcast along with Oregon State. And they're going to play like that every week. They're going to be a dangerous team.
We belong in the Power 5, he said afterwards. They held Wisconsin to 90 rushing yards in Pullman.
It's insane.
On Saturday night. Our friends at Wayne's for the past 50 years, they have been doing what the folks at Wayne's love. That's pest control. They've been serving our communities by doing the thing they love, providing world-class pest control and termite protection to those they care about the most. And they just want to say thank you. If you visit callwaynes.com today, you get $50 off the pest control or termite protection. Tell them where you heard it, the next round. Callwaynes.com, $50 off pest control and termite protection. Congratulations to Waynes on 50 years. Back in a moment.
Call the next round now at 205-734-0923.
Hey, Lance Taylor from the next round to tell you about our friends at Gutter Cap. Gutter Cap's that patented aluminum cover system that fits over most existing gutters to keep out debris and eliminate that gutter cleaning. It's backed with a lifetime warranty, almost 20-year service record right here in Birmingham. Stay off that dangerous ladder forever. 45% off the retail price now if you call guttercapbirmingham.com. Call my good friend Chris Stewart now, 205-823-2212. Cap it, don't snap it. It's Gutter Cap.
This is for the men who never settle, the ones who miss the fairway all day and still pull out the big stick, the type of guys who will always prefer to be behind the grill than in front of the camera, and the men who never let their friends forget about a high school nickname. This is the Lodge mentality. This is Twin Peaks.
Who wants to settle for a single TV? With more TVs, bigger screens, plus our fabulous scenic views, there's more to watch at Twin Peaks.
Going to a big football game? Walking around all day? Then you'll want comfortable shoes. This is Wes McClooney, owner of the New Balance Birmingham store. Score a touchdown with a new pair of ultra-comfortable running or walking shoes. Come to the New Balance Birmingham store. I'm telling you, we'll make sure you have a perfect fit and we'll treat you like the starting QB. Our job is to make sure your feet are happy. Visit the New Balance Birmingham store on Highway 280 next to Chick-fil-A. Your feet will thank you.
Spring weather is here, and our friends at Hemp Hill Services are offering a $69 HVAC tune-up plus 10% off any service call when you mention the next round. Call Adam, Chad, and the guys at Hemp Hill Services. Make sure your HVAC unit is ready to keep up with the changing weather. Hemp Hill Services, locally owned and operated independent train dealer. The team can service all makes and models. For all of your plumbing, heating, and cooling needs, call Hemp Hill Services. It's hard to stop a train. 205-229-2090 or hemphillservices.com. That's 205-229-2090, hemphillservices.com.
The next round is brought to you in part by the biggest, baddest track in NASCAR, Talladega Superspeedway. This beast is 2.5 miles of nothing but pure speed and always puts on a great show for the fans. The Yellowwood 500 NASCAR Playoffs weekend is coming and you do not want to miss it. Saturday, September 30th is the Craftsman Truck Series Playoffs race, followed by Sunday's Yellowwood 500 in the NASCAR Cup Series Playoffs. Be there to see drivers battle 500 miles to survive. Get your tickets now at TalladagaSuperspeedway.com.
The wait is over. Tonali has arrived. Beautifully distinctive Italian styling and performance. Come test drive the all-new 2024 Alfa Romeo Tonali plug-in hybrid at Alfa Romeo of Birmingham. The all-new Tonali offers best-in-class horsepower and torque, fastest 0 to 60 times in its class, plus best-in-class range with full electric charge. And best of all, qualified Tonali leasees are eligible for up to $7,500 EV tax credit factored into your lease. Hurry down to Alfa Romeo of Birmingham and experience the all-new Tonali.
New Life Art brings us the viewing menu every day. Rockstar's about to tell us what he's going to watch. Monday Night Football is part of it. He'll tell us other stuff.
Hey, artist Daniel Moore has announced that masterwork in oils. You're looking at it right there. Legacy continues. This sequel to Moore's 1992 sold-out painting. The Crimson Legacy features iconic moments and memorabilia from the last 30 seasons of Tide football. Don't miss your opportunity to own this lasting tribute, sure to be cherished by Bama fans for years to come. You can order right now. Go to DanielMooreArt.com. That's DanielMooreArt.com.
You know, when you think of Jack Black, there's a film I want to talk about. Do you remember the movie he did where he was the stoner friend that kind of was like a slacker?
The Cable Guy. No, not the Cable Guy.
That was Jim Carrey.
He was in the Cable Guy?
Yeah, he was in. Yeah, that was the first time I ever saw Jack Black, but he wasn't really a stoner guy.
It's typecasted. Everything he does is he's a stoner guy.
Oh, so you're making a joke that
he's
that's everything.
School of Rock.
Yeah.
I like School of Rock,
School of Rock was a good movie.
Yeah,
I've seen it on Broadway.
This one is a good idea, poorly executed. Be Kind, Rewind from 2008. After a freak accident causes all the tapes in a video store to be erased, an employee and his friend decide to make their own no-budget recreations of various hits movies. So they try like, oh my God, we lost Titanic. Well, we got to reenact it and put it back on tape so people can still rent it.
Well, that's pretty funny. Did you say it wasn't well executed?
It's a 90-minute Saturday Night Live skit.
There's too many movies.
Yeah,
you know?
But it's funny for at first. It was like, oh my God, we got to do 90 minutes of this. And here's a hidden gem from 11:20 on MGM Hits. A hidden gem football movie I have not seen since it came out, but The Program from 1993.
I never saw it.
You didn't?
James
That's the one
Conn's
where
the coach.
That's the one where they used
Williams
Bryce
Yeah,
Stadium.
it's supposed to be Florida State, but they play at Williams Bryce.
Yeah, and that's when the kid laid in the street, and the kid tried it, and they had to pull that actual scene because somebody got run over.
Because they started doing that around the country, and that's when he walks to class carrying the football, right? Spoiler alert.
I think it's Omar Epps, maybe?
It is Omar Epps.
Omar Epps.
Yeah.
It's a good film.
That's a good one, Rockstar. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. As we get ready for more college football in the final hour, let's talk the NFL. NASCAR Fast. NASCAR coming back to Talladega. TalladegaSuperspeedway.com. TalladegaSuperspeedway.com for those tickets. September 30th and October 1st. Hardy in concert Saturday night with your race ticket, and then the Yellowwood 500 on Sunday. TalladegaSuperspeedway.com. 49er fan Lunsford, a winner. Falcon fan Forrester, a winner. Rockstar Lions fan, a winner. Brown Dolphins fan, winner.
Victory Monday.
LT Rams fan,
Victory
winner.
Monday.
Dunaway, even Dunaway's Baker Mayfield Buccaneers, a winner.
Play it for the first pick.
6-0 with our teams here.
I was so shocked at the way the Rams, first two drives for Seattle, I don't know if you guys watched, they went down and got points. Rams made adjustments. Seattle had 3 total yards until their final carry where they picked up 10 yards to end the game. 3 yards in the second half. And Matt Stafford, outside of 2 bad throws, looked like Matt Stafford in the Super Bowl, did it without Cooper Kupp. That was a statement game on the road from the Rams.
I feel like I watched the best 2 offenses in the NFL yesterday in my game.
There's one of those games in the opening weekend every year, and that was your game yesterday. When that was over with, I was like, that was a fun NFL game.
It was. I mean, now listen, I was riding a roller coaster of emotions, but it was a amazing football game. And 466 pass yards.
All right, look,
an incredible game.
You guys will be in the mix to make a Super Bowl run if he can stay upright. I mean, that's the whole key.
It's everything.
And Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill's got to stay healthy too. That guy, fastest guy I've ever seen.
Did he complete that pass? That touchdown pass under that guy's arm?
That's what I was about to say. Go watch the
third
game
down
winner.
It was unbelievable.
It's as good an NFL pass or good a football pass as you'll ever see.
Like it either went under his arm or here.
It was like magic.
Between his jaw and his collar. He just dropped it right in there.
I mean, just absolute magic dropping that ball into Tyreek Hill for the game winner. It was an incredible throw.
God, I hope he can stay healthy.
I do too. If he could stay healthy, that offense, I mean, the Chargers pretty good defense. Like I think they were 21st in the league, so okay defense. They had no answer for the pass. I mean, they could not stop Tua.
And I'll tell you this, man, for whatever reason, Herbert, and every game's big in the regular season, but he just can't win these tight, big games.
I know. Couldn't believe your Bucs went on the road and beat Minnesota. Minnesota was a house of cards last year. I thought they would regress.
Great adjustments on Justin Jefferson in the second half.
They did. I mean, the defense, Bowles is a good defensive guy. Baker was gutsy, man. He made some plays in the second half. San Francisco and the Cowboys, though.
They dominated.
San Francisco and the Cowboys, though. I mean, it looks like we're ready to play the NFC. I know, I'm sorry to your Rams. But it looks like we're ready to play the NFC Championship between the Cowboys and 49ers.
They get San Francisco Sunday, don't you? So
yeah, we get San Francisco comes into SoFi, so we'll definitely have a barometer there. San Francisco is legitimate. Look, the Eagles were up 16-0 before you could blink, and then I don't know what happened in the second half. Maybe that was just Tom Brady being there really motivated them, but the Eagles almost lost that game. I still think the Eagles are right there, but the Cowboys, major statement. It's hard to believe still that Brian Dable won a playoff game with this roster last year.
It really is.
Daniel Jones was awful. The offensive line was completely terrible.
I'll tell you who looked really good yesterday. I watched a good bit of this game was Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley.
Calvin Ridley was the talk of camp.
Yeah, he was fantastic, by the way. He
Agent
looks
Zero.
faster.
Yeah.
It looks faster, and Trevor Lawrence played really, really well. Tank Bigsby scored a touchdown, but he had a rough start to that game.
Anthony Richardson did not look bad. I mean,
He did, not early on especially.
He made a mistake, but, I mean, he's a rookie quarterback, and you didn't think Bryce looked fantastic in
2
that
interceptions.
Game?
Yeah, I did not. I thought C.J. Stroud, even in the loss, looked pretty good.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, the same with Richardson, and I thought Bryce Young looked the worst of all of them.
Yeah. So an interesting first day. Joe Burrow has a horrible day passing. Cleveland gets the win. But Aaron Rodgers, he plays tonight, Forster. His team played Auburn over the weekend. You get a little wagering that goes on Saturdays between teammates as they get to watch their colleges. And then when you lose, Forster, you got to pay it off. There's Aaron Rodgers in the Auburn gear. Who's making him wear that? Do you know, Forster? Yeah.
That would be C.J. Uzama.
The C.J. Uzama had to bet with him. And he's trying to get him to say War Eagle, and Aaron's refusing to say War Eagle. But there's Aaron Rodgers, some people's GOAT, having to wear the Auburn gear.
I can't wait for the game tonight.
Oh, it's going to be a phenomenal game. If Aaron Rodgers were Auburn's quarterback, they'd win the West.
Oh,
yeah, 100%. If Aaron Rodgers was Auburn's quarterback, you're having to think about this?
I mean, how good's the offensive line going to be, though?
Doesn't matter. How quick release. How quick is he going to get that ball out of there?
I mean, Aaron Rodgers couldn't get to the playoffs in the NFC North last year.
This is the SEC.
Yeah, I'll give you if he's Alabama's quarterback.
Oh, they win the national championship.
More on Alabama after their loss and the rest of the SEC. Off to a start I didn't think we'd be talking about. 8 Pac-12 teams, more than the SEC in the top 25 after 2 weeks. When we come back for the final hour, that hour brought to you in part by our friends at Redmont Distilling Redmont Vodka.
It's gluten-free. It's 8 times distilled. You're going to love it. Smooth product. Again, locally owned and operated. Available at your local package store, including the Beverage Place Pink Package. Also, ABC stores. Ask for it by name. Available in 22 states. It is Redmont Vodka.
Everything Next Round is on demand now in the podcast section at nextroundlive.com.
Hey, Lance Taylor from the Next Round. You've heard me for years talk about our friends at Bromberg's Jewelers, and we welcome you to stop by and see that great customer service at the Mountain Brook and Summit locations. But we'd also love for you to check out their new online shop. They've got plenty to choose from. Great gifts, big and small. Available online, they've got David Yurman, Tudor watches, select diamond and gemstone jewelry, William Henry, seasonal and favorite giftware items and baby gifts as well. They've even got an online sale section. For more information, brombergs.com.
Do you need extra cash handy? Look no further than Legacy Credit Union for whatever loan your lifestyle requires. It only takes a few minutes to apply and request the amount you need to give you peace of mind. With affordable low rates and manageable payback plans, a Legacy Lifestyle loan is crafted just for you. Apply online today at legacycreditunion.com/join. Lifestyle loans from Legacy. Terms and conditions may apply. Legacy is federally insured by the NCUA.
Stop by the New York Butcher Shop and pick up the finest in certified Angus prime beef steaks and burgers, premium pork chops, ribs, and all-natural chicken cut to order just for you. Their chef-prepared entrees and side dishes are the perfect dinner-to-go choice for your family and are ready to heat at home. With a great selection of fine wines and desserts, the New York Butcher Shop is your one-stop dinner shop. 2 locations to serve you, Cahaba Heights and on Highway 119 in Greystone. The New York Butcher Shop, rare quality, well-done service.
Going to a big football game? Walking around all day? Then you'll want comfortable shoes. This is Wes McClooney, owner of the New Balance Birmingham store. Score a touchdown with a new pair of ultra-comfortable running or walking shoes. Come to the New Balance Birmingham store. I'm telling you, we'll make sure you have a perfect fit and we'll treat you like the starting QB. Our job is to make sure your feet are happy. Visit the New Balance Birmingham store on Highway 280 next to Chick-fil-A. Your feet will thank you.
Things fall apart. There's even a book about it, but that doesn't mean you have to break the bank to fix them. Ryan Brown here for the Next Round. Our friends at Mortgage Right have a new renovation option that will make repairs and other home improvements easy. If you've recently purchased a home and find yourself short on cash, or you're looking to buy a fixer-upper, Mortgage Right's renovation loan program can help you spruce up your space. Repairs can be made to your roof, plumbing, flooring, and more with the help of top-notch mortgage professionals. So get your fix by visiting mortgageright.com/TNR. And MLS 2239, Equal Housing Lender.
Harbin's Outdoors is an award-winning landscape company specializing in installing custom fiberglass pools, landscaping, and hardscaping. Jeremy and his team are a one-stop shop for your pool construction needs. Harbin's does it all, from the install to the final hardscapes around the pool and everything in between. It's beautiful work. You can find them on Instagram at Harbins_outdoors to see it for yourself, or call or text Jeremy directly, 205-300-0718. That's 205-300-0718. At Harbins, you and your home are the center of all that they do.
Jim Dunaway, Lance Taylor, Ryan Brown, and Rockstar. Live from the Birmingham Racecourse Casino Studios, the Next Round, presented by Bud Light, is on now.
Just a little public service announcement again from Brownie. According to reports, and we've actually seen it pop up here in our studio on television number 3 of our multiple TV setup here, there's been a financial workout.
Yeah, Spectrum/Charter and Disney have reached an agreement to get ESPN and the Disney-owned ABC stations back on Charter just in time for Monday Night Football, Bills-Jets. So As a college fan, you missed 2 weekends of games, but they didn't want NFL fans to miss games. So they are back, and they've got an agreement. That's all that matters. So if you were thinking about switching, you still think about that if you want to, but you should know that you are now back to getting ESPN.
Yeah, and I hate the people that get caught up in the riptide of this. Like I had to call my parents in the commercial break because they went through the trouble of changing providers and stuff. And just at their age, it was easier to keep their cable, and hopefully they had not canceled that yet. So for those of you that were thinking about changing, don't want to, there you go. That has been worked out in time for Monday Night Football. Let's get into our big headlines today. Rockstar, let's do our spotlight. It's the biggest storylines of the week. It's brought to you this week by our friends at Michelson Laser Vision, LT. As we look into the future, let's look into the future with Michelson.
Yeah, make that phone call that I made years ago, 205-969-8100. Ask for Amy. Tell her the next round sent you. She's going to hook you up with a hassle-free consultation. 0 to lose to find out if LASIK is right for you. I got the procedure done over 2 decades ago. I still have 2015 vision, better than 2020. Again, 205-969-8100 or michelsonlaservision.com.
The College Football Spotlight. College football's biggest storylines.
And for me, I'll start us off here. 3-6 is the SEC versus the Power 5. And what has always been the conversation is the SEC has at least one team in the 4-team playoff. And it's our last year. But should we automatically say the SEC gets a free pass? They got at least one team in there? Is this we're making too much of this storyline? Where are you guys right now on the 3-6 versus the Power 5 start?
I think the SEC's down this year. I think so. SEC has dominated for years, but we finally have parity in college football. It used to be 4 or 5 teams. You could pick them at the top. You heard Klatt say if I had to pick 3 of the 4, you used to always be able to pick 3 of the 4. And now that the SEC has come back, or should I say maybe everybody has risen up to that level. But this is a major storyline to me because, Auburn, if they were playing just a decent offense, they lose that game.
Brown?
I mean, this really only matters if you're down or not when it gets to the playoffs. That's when we'll really determine is the best team in the SEC down or is the whole league down. I don't know. But I have not seen an SEC team that if you only take into account for what's happened this year, there's 0 teams that have proven they deserve to be in the playoffs. Now, we're only in week 2, so that doesn't really matter. But who's proven they deserve anything out of the Southeastern Conference right now? Nobody has. And even in week 2 in years past, you're like, hey, now so-and-so, they had that big win over whoever it is. Georgia should have played Oklahoma this past weekend. I wish we had not been robbed of that game. Would have added to a really good college football weekend, but I'd like to see that game right now. I'd like to see Georgia, Oklahoma. Georgia's not going to be they get South Carolina this weekend.
Again, it's so early.
But
do you guys see anybody that can win a national championship outside of Georgia? I'm talking about in the SEC.
Georgia hasn't proven it to me yet.
I know.
So no, I don't.
But they are back-to-back, and they got a good roster. You're still wondering about their quarterback. Here's how I will phrase this. I always thought the first conference that would have a 2-loss team in the playoffs would be the SEC. Right?
Right.
Because of just the depth and the power and the reputation of the conference. I mean, how many of these have been won by an SEC team, including 4 straight right now in LSU, Alabama, Georgia, and Georgia. Yeah. I don't know if we will get the benefit of the doubt if somehow Georgia stumbles along the way here of having our 2-loss champion in there, if that becomes the case later on, because of what the other conferences have done in the outer conference against us.
But I do think now with both LSU and Alabama having these losses, that if they were to even lose one game and you had 2 10-2s, they get to Atlanta and a 10-2 beats maybe a 1-loss Georgia, I think that 10-2 team gets in.
But for the first time ever, 100% in the past, for the first time ever, because of this storyline, I think it becomes a debate on whether or not are we going to put in, this 1-loss conference champion over a 2-loss conference champion, because you can look at the Power 5s and see what we did out of conference. We're about to run out of Power 5 competition for the SEC. We're about to jump into conference play, and we sort of didn't make our statement like we usually do.
Yeah, to me, the storyline is the Pac-12, and the Pac-12 becoming just the second conference in the history of college football to have 8+ teams in a top 25. It's going to be fascinating when conference play starts in the Pac-12. because we knew that USC and Washington and Oregon and Utah were going to be pretty legitimate. We felt like Oregon State was going to be a tough out. We had no idea that Washington State and Colorado were going to be in the mix like they are. So the Pac-12 is really good. It's just, can the Pac-12 have a team that can separate itself, only lose one game, win a conference championship? Because to me, it's so close. They could have, 4 or 5 teams with 10-2 records.
I think my storyline is the battle shaping up in the Big Ten East. You asked the question, who do you trust more, Penn State or Ohio State? I think Penn State right now. They're definitely better at quarterback. I don't even think that's debatable. Penn State's obviously better at quarterback than Ohio State. Michigan is completely untested. So is Penn State, for that matter. And I guess Ohio State kind of is, too. I mean, they've only played Indiana and Youngstown State. But the Big Ten West is so bad. I mean, it is so bad right now, the Big Ten West. Nebraska, Wisconsin, we thought Mike could do something. Wisconsin is a team, you asked about them earlier. And I think Luke Fickell's a good coach, but they look like a team, having watched them for a couple of weekends now. They just don't know their identity yet.
That's right. They're in
they
transition.
Don't know who they are.
Right.
Yeah.
They've got a roster built to be a pounding ground, switching to the air raid.
Yeah, or to Phil Longo's air raid.
Yeah, and they also seem like, I think they'll get better as the year progresses, but they've got like Georgia Southern this weekend, and they're 19-point favorites. I don't feel great about them blowing Georgia Southern out. And when you look in that division, the offenses are so bad.
They are.
Northwestern, Nebraska, Iowa.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only 2 undefeated teams still, and that's Minnesota and Iowa. And I don't have confidence in either one of those.
I know we're going to do the Iowa update later. He took a step backwards, by the way. The average points per game, only 20. But at least they won. But, that Big Ten East is going to be so fascinating to watch it play out with Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State. And I just have no earthly idea who I'd favor right there at this moment.
That's our storylines. As we do that, let's jump back into Alabama and Texas and what we saw. A couple of more sound bites here as we jump into this, brought to you by our friends at Storm Restoration Roofing. Greg was over at the game, and he was in a suite watching the great contest unfold before him. And if Alabama's secondary was a roof and Greg was on it, he would have found some water entry points.
A few leaks in that one.
Pretty over the top. He would have found it pretty quickly.
That roof's not going to hold up to the deep ball. You need a new one.
205-542-3531 for Storm Restoration Roofing. Greg from Pell City. He'll give you that free no-cost roof inspection. Check them out. Over 20 years. Locally owned, A-plus rated with the Better Business Bureau. 205-542-3531. That free no-cost, no-obligation roof inspection. Or you can look him up on Facebook. Greg from Pell City and Storm Restoration Roofing. Rockstar, let's go to Jalen Milroe, cut number 4. And he gets asked by our own EG, Emily Grace, about the message to the team and what he's going to be telling this locker room that apparently he had won the locker room. That's why he's the quarterback. Here is Jalen Milroe after the game.
A lot of your teammates have expressed confidence on your behalf. Did you have a message back to them after this one?
There's 2 things we can do. We can linger on this loss, or we can try to improve and get better as a football team. And I bet on my guys any day of the week. So we're going to get better from this. We're going to learn from it. And we're going to grow. What y'all saw tonight, that's okay. We're going to improve. We're going to improve. We're going to get better, and we're going to attack the day, the next day we have.
Okay, that was not EG's voice, a little deeper than I was expecting. Different sound, but he got asked that a couple of times.
I see her hand, though.
Yeah, I see her hand. Yeah, she was there. We heard her microphone.
Yeah.
The problem is here, I'm sure he's going to look like a world beater against South Florida. They're awful. And that'll get his confidence back, but, now you're right back in the frying pan with the SEC schedule that's about to start with Ole Miss and Mississippi State and all those teams that are on the horizon. They're not great teams. But if he plays like he did against Texas, all those are losable games for Alabama. So, what do you do if you're Tommy Rees and Nick Saban this week? What do you do? Do you try to get a good look at other guys, or do you try to get Jalen Milroe some confidence? Which one do you try to do? Because I'm not certain you can do both.
I think I'm just pushing ahead with Jalen Milroe.
I think you have to now.
Not me.
What do you do? So
I don't know who number 2 is.
Well,
here's what I saw. I saw some open receivers. So I don't think it was a scheme, right? Like the wheel route that he just overthrew going down the sideline. Who was that? Was that Jace that broke out on the wheel route down the side, and he barely just missed it? If he catches it, he's going to take it to the house. I thought there were some open receivers, and I just want somebody that's not going to turn the ball over. I need somebody that's not going to turn the ball over.
I don't know if you've got that guy, though. Tyler Buckner turned it over last year in his limited time he played at Notre Dame.
A pick six against Marshall was probably the last play I remember him playing.
So let me ask you this. Let's play
the bowl game.
Let's play the what-if game. Let's say you do that against South Florida, and Buckner and Simpson and Lonergan, whoever is out there, doesn't look great. Now what do? Obviously you go back to Milroe against Ole Miss, but, you just hope it hasn't crushed his confidence, and now he's not in a mentally bad place. You heard from Jake Coker earlier. Coker got benched in that Ole Miss game. He came back, and he had something to prove.
Well, Coker, and he said this before, privately and on tape, that he decided, I think it's actually in that Elephant in the Room, if you want to go watch it from last week, Disrupt the Media, Roll Tide Pods. Go follow, subscribe directly to Roll Tide Pods so you get all that information there and all that content. But he said, I came back after I got benched that Ole Miss game. I actually came into the Ole Miss game they basically, he didn't say they gave up on him, but he's like, I got nothing to lose now. So I came back with a totally different attitude. I was just, if we win, we win. If we don't, we don't. I'm just going to sling it around. I'm going to go play balls to the wall and
he did.
And go out there and they won the national championship. So a little bit of the pressure was off of him at that point because they'd already given up on him once.
Boy, we've seen a lot of Alabama's football since that night where they lost to Ole Miss. I just don't remember feeling like this, though.
I don't. I agree with you, Lance. Again, you had Derrick Henry on that team. You knew you could at least line up and run the football. Here's the thing, Dunaway. Maybe if you go down to Tampa and you play a couple guys and nobody balls out and you go back to Milroe, at least at that point Milroe knows, well, this is my job, right? They're not going to replace me because I've seen the other options and it wasn't good.
And truthfully, that's what happened to Jake, right?
Yeah.
You saw the other option, and they were like,
okay, Jake, you're our guy.
Yeah.
Maybe you had proven it already. We didn't trust you, but boy, we trust you now because we saw Cooper Bateman and you're our guy. And maybe that would help Milroe. I don't know. But I don't know, Lance, what you do. What'd you say you do? You let Milroe get confidence and just stick with and then go to battle
look, you're going to win this game going away, or at least you should. So I think you've got to get other guys reps in there. But I think Milroe will play the first half.
But see, there again, how do I evaluate Ty Simpson or Tyler Buckner if it's just second half trash football? I just don't know that I get a good read on that.
I don't know. I saw over in the Vulcan Tire and Automotive chat room multiple people saying 9-3 is the ceiling with Milroe. The thing is, though, you look at the rest of the schedule, everyone's got flaws on it. Everyone. So could Alabama go 9-3? Yeah. Could they go 11-1? Yeah.
Were you guys surprised by Nick Saban's postgame?
A lot of people made a big deal. Were you in there? For the whole thing. You were in there for the whole thing.
I was in there for the whole thing, yeah.
A lot of people,
was Emily Grace.
You and EG were in there. A lot of people made a big deal out of that last quote.
You mean when it was wrapped up and he started to walk away and then he came back and he thanked the fans again and what an honor it is and a privilege to play at Alabama and to play in games like this,
Yeah, because everything Saban does now, people try to view it through the lens of, is this him signaling his retirement?
Yeah.
And a lot of people looked at that and were like, Saban would never have done that before. Obviously, he's getting sentimental in his old age in his final year in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
I just wonder how it played in the room when he did it.
It was odd, but a lot of people thought, this. And I thought I saw you tweeted this. Maybe it was somebody else. But as we were leaving the field to go in, I thought I saw somewhere on social media before I did my one-on-one with Matthew McConaughey that this is going to be fire in the post game that Nick Saban's going to be off the rails, that he was going to be livid.
No,
with
because
stuff.
that's not the way he reacts.
No.
After you've seen this having done the coaches show with him. He's frequently more at ease after losses than big wins.
After losses, he sensed that I've got to lift people up, and there was a lot of lifting up. There was a lot of it was my fault. It was a test for the coaches too, and we failed. But it was a lot of that.
Yeah, was it Lukenbill or Klatt that said that? They had the dad that said, you've got to, when they win, you treat them like losers. When they lose, you treat them like winners.
Yeah. I think it was Klatt,
Yeah, and that's what Nick Saban does, but there seems something a little different about him, too. He seems exhausted, and it's only the second week of the season.
Corey says, first time that I've actually thought Saban is done at the end of the year. That's in the Vulcan Tire and Automotive chat room. When we come back, trash is part of the conversation, but I have one more thing this segment I want you to hear from Sark. after I tell you about our friends at Chicken Cock. In fact, I'm going to let LT tell you about our friends at Chicken Cock. Do you have any on Saturday?
I did have some chicken cock. I rolled into the post game with plenty of chicken cock in the system. Again, pick up the original bourbon or the rye. All expressions are available at your ABC store. Chicken cock, it is the official bourbon whiskey right here on the Next Round. It's one of the oldest whiskey brands in America, founded in 1856 in Bourbon County, Kentucky, known as the famous old brand. Again, you can get the bourbon and the rye available in the Alabama stores. All expressions available for special order at your ABC store. You can order online, chickencockwhiskey.com.
All right. Remember, we go overtime today with the Saban and Freeze news conference coming up in the 12 o'clock hour. Sarkisian in the visitors' locker room at Bryant-Denny Stadium, talking about now the rest of the year for Texas.
It's a heck of a team win, and really proud of our players. You know, we have a ton of respect for that team, for Alabama, and I know how well they're coached. I know how hard they play, and so 52-1 walking in this stadium here over the last 53 games. So I think it just shows a lot about kind of what we're capable of. And like I said, coming into the game, this game's not going to define our season. We got 10 more regular season games to play, but I think it does serve as a good benchmark for us of kind of what we're capable of and what the potential of who we can be as a team moving forward.
Yeah, now there were a lot of people that picked Alabama that do a lot of things on ESPN and other places to win the national championship, and that's not done yet. But I don't think very few people were picking Texas to be in the college football playoffs or win a national championship. But that conversation has changed now, and it's the Alabama bump. We see this every year. When somebody beats Alabama, they get a bump or they get a contract extension, a big contract extension.
Yeah.
So all that could be coming for Sark, and there were a lot of big oil men that were shaking his hand on the field and singing Eyes of Texas afterwards with him. Is this team for real in your opinion?
Well, I do think they're for real again. I would have them number one in the nation right now. And I think the good news, the exceptionally good news for Texas, Lance touched on this a little bit when he was talking about all the games they'll be favored in moving forward. I want you to listen to their road games, okay? Here are their remaining road games after having won in Tuscaloosa.
So real, true road games.
These are true road games. Obviously, Oklahoma's a neutral site. At Baylor.
Yeah, and Baylor, without Shapen, has zero shot. Sawyer Robertson was not good this past week. I did like their unis, though. Green jersey, yellow pant.
Yeah, I did like that. At Houston, who just lost to Rice in overtime, by the way. So that tells you a lot about Houston.
Oh, I missed that final score. So you tell me the primetime Fox game of TCU at Houston not as good?
Not as good.
No.
Not as good.
JT Daniels looked good for Rice, though.
Yeah. At TCU, who we've already seen this year, I think that's a 6-6 team. At Iowa State, I watched a little bit of that. They are so offensively challenged.
Oh, they might get beat by Ohio this week.
Yeah. So that's your true remaining road games for Texas. That is such an easy road schedule for them.
Yeah, again, the only losable games that I think are out there are Oklahoma, possibly, Kansas State, possibly, and Texas Tech, possibly.
Yeah, they get all those at home.
Yeah, I think
neutral.
I think they're 11-1. I think they'll find a loss just because there's so much, week to week parity in this game now. But I think they're 11-1, and if they take care of business, Big 12 championship, I think they're in the 14 playoff.
All right, so that's Texas moving forward after a win in Tuscaloosa. All right, trash is part of the next segment. The show brought to you in part today by our friends at NASCAR, getting you ready for racing. TalladegaSuperspeedway.com for tickets. TalladegaSuperspeedway.com for tickets. Truck Series race on September 30th. Hardy in concert on Saturday night. Yellowwood 500 race, playoff race in NASCAR on Sunday. All that with a ticket at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com. TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
Follow Rockstar on Twitter at RockstarBHM.
It's college football time in Alabama. This is Congressman Robert Adderholt. I grew up an Alabama fan, Roll Tide, but my wife, Caroline, grew up an Auburn fan, War Eagle. But no matter who you pull for, whether it's the Lions of the University of North Alabama or the Gamecocks of Jacksonville State or any other school in between, I want to wish all the players, the coaches, and especially the fans another great college football season here in Alabama. I'm Robert Adderholt, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Adderholt for Congress.
The next round brought to you by the biggest and baddest track in NASCAR, the Talladega Superspeedway. The Yellowwood 500 NASCAR Playoffs weekend is coming up. You don't want to miss it. The action kicks off Saturday, September 30th with the Craftsman Truck Series Playoffs race, all leading up to the NASCAR Cup Series Playoffs on Sunday, October the 1st. Be there to see these drivers battle for 500 miles to survive and advance to the next round of the playoffs. Get your tickets now at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com. Again, that is TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
DryTech Water Restoration is a locally owned company that specializes in mold remediation, fire and water damage cleanup, and SteraMist services. DryTech's goal is to provide clients with expert guidance when dealing with any home disaster. DryTech's highly trained specialists are available 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. They will work closely with you and your insurance company to make sure the process is stress-free as possible. Call DryTech today, 205-637-0143. The moment you discover damage to your home, DryTech's team will handle the rest. Want more of the Next Round? Download the app or visit nextroundlive.com for the latest podcast. The Mystery Fifth Hour, our Not For All Ages podcast, The Last Call, and the entire Double Down Media podcast family. All at nextroundlive.com and on the Next Round app.
There are so many things I love about walk-ons. Authentic, mouth-watering Louisiana cuisine, prepared fresh, daily from scratch. A great beer selection and TVs everywhere to watch the big game every day of the week. And of course, they've got two great locations on Highway 280 and 119 and at Hoover near the Hoover Met. Walk-ons is also a great place for happy hour, 2 to 6 Monday through Friday with $5 moonshine swirls, $5 house pours, and half-price appetizers. And it's an easy take-home experience for the family as well. Highway 280 and Hoover with walk-ons.
You hear a lot of interesting phrases while playing golf, like, I think you're on the beach, or the classic, you gotta hit it, Alice. One word you're sure to hear right now at Bentbrook Golf Club is wow. Brand new carts with complimentary GPS, and the bent grass greens are so consistent, you just might drain a few more putts, Alice. Tee it up and find out for yourself. Book around today at bentbrook.com or call 428-1999. It's better at Bentbrook.
Start your day online with our website, nextroundlive.com, for the latest videos, podcasts, and college football stories. It's also a great way to stream the show or shop in the Next Round store. Stay connected by visiting nextroundlive.com.
Tell us about our friends at Bromberg's LT. We'll get to trash in a second. I got some updated betting lines from mybookie.ag I want you guys to react to.
Yeah, our friends at Bromberg's, they are your diamond specialist. If you're thinking about popping the question this fall, you need to go see them. Two great locations, Mountain Brook and the Summit. Family owned and operated since 1836. Bromberg's established that solid reputation as a fine purveyor of quality diamonds as well as jewelry, timepieces, and gifts. Again, two locations, Mountain Brook and the Summit. You can also shop online right now, brombergs.com.
Georgia 27 against South Carolina?
Yeah.
Sounds right.
You know, Spencer Rattler, we saw it last year. If he gets hot, and boy, they struggled early against Furman, but Spencer Rattler had a hell of a game when you look at the stats there. I don't know. I mean, it seems like a big number, but Georgia might finally be motivated now that they're playing a conference game.
I think the odds makers look at if North Carolina's defense can do that to them, what is Georgia's defense going to do to them, right? I mean, I think that would be what you're looking at there.
Texas A&M 37 against Terry Bowden's team? Terry Bowden's a play caller.
Yeah, but A&M will probably score 70.
Yeah, this will be Jimbo trying to prove nothing's wrong. This will be a message game.
We talked earlier, Tennessee a touchdown in Gainesville, LSU 10 in Starkville.
Well, that feels heavy to me.
Again, they struggled early on. Grambling scored 10 first quarter points, and then they completely blitzed them after that.
I mean, to Lance's point, though, Mississippi State was +5 in turnovers and still had to go to overtime to beat Arizona. I mean, that's an alarming stat right there.
That's why RTD4 told me with Milroe turning the football over, there's no way they can do better than 9-3. But again, some of these teams in the West, Arizona should have won that game -5 in turnovers.
Had every opportunity.
Ole Miss 20 at home to Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I don't. Georgia Tech, obviously I watched them the first Friday night of the season against Louisville. I did not watch any of their game. They played an FCS team over the weekend. Obviously, I didn't see any of that. So it's kind of hard to gauge that one. Ole Miss did a lot of things right. Lance has referenced how they had an amazing backdoor cover. And that last 4 minutes overshadows. That was a much closer game than that score would indicate.
Oh, it was.
It was a nip and tuck game.
I don't know about you guys. I was just waiting for Ole Miss offensively to completely dominate on the ground against Tulane.
I thought Quinshon Junkins could run for 200.
Two straight weeks they haven't been able to. I think they had 13 rush yards at the half, if I remember right. I mean, that's alarming.
Well,
man.
more alarming to me is I like Jackson Dart a lot. But if you can't move the chains on third down, you're not going to have a lot of success in this league. And they were 1 of 13 against Tulane on third down.
Yeah, and Tulane was playing a backup quarterback. Now, a capable backup. He played well, but still, you're playing a backup quarterback. And
that's why everybody was asking me, why did Ole Miss go from 8.5 to 13? Well, because the best player for Tulane's not playing. Their quarterback.
Yeah, that's surprising. In Texas, minus 28.5, and to come down to earth game with Wyoming, who already has a win over Texas Tech, coming to Austin.
I think the entire world will look at that and say there's no way Texas gets down to earth quick enough to beat Wyoming by 28.5. Now, they're going to beat Wyoming, obviously.
Yeah.
I think Wyoming will be a popular play.
I do, too. I think Sark puts pedal down here.
Yeah. It's a confident. I would imagine it's a very confident team.
Yeah.
And I like Quinn Ewers' attitude. He seems to have matured a lot. There was so much in that game. You weren't there, but they talked a lot about him, or you were there, not watching on TV. Fowler and Herbstreit talked a lot about how much weight he had lost, how he'd shaved the mullet, how he's rededicated himself to his faith, and just what an impact it has had on the field. And I tell you, it shows on the field. Yeah. Now, I don't know if he can keep this level of play up, but he was fantastic Saturday.
Yeah, it helps when you've got some demons on that defensive line and offensive line in the trenches who took it to Alabama. They won both sides of the ball in the trenches, and that was the difference in the game, Texas over Alabama. This hour brought to you by Champy's. Champy's world-famous fried chicken, Highway 119 in Alabaster. Got to swing by there on Friday night after the show on my way to watch the Thompson game. Great food as always. Champy's Chicken. Champy'sChicken.com for your tailgating and your take-home needs on Highway 119 in Alabaster. We're on our way to trash a couple of things. Coco won the U.S. Open. It was a really cool video seeing her as an 8-year-old dancing as a fan in the stands. What was that old song? Call Me
Call Me Maybe. Carly Rae Jepsen. Yeah. I'm shocked I knew that quick.
Yeah, she was dancing to that during a timeout or something at the U.S. Open, and they posted that video as in 2012 from that, and now she's on the court winning a championship. I'm surprised she only wins $3 million for that, though.
I am, too. Wow. I mean, that's like a...
Only $3 million?
An off-person PGA event.
Are you? Oh, for women's tennis, she's making $3 million.
That's a big tournament, a big major.
I don't know.
That's $3 million. Well, I mean, what do you
think? We're paying the women's basketball coach at LSU $3.6 million a year. This girl just won the U.S. Open.
Well, I get that. I mean, those are not apples and oranges.
I got to be honest. This thing's been going on a week, right? A week plus. I didn't see one shot.
I didn't either. How much did Djokovic win for winning?
I don't know. I'm sure it's more. It's men and women in America.
It's also a little thing we like to call TV ratings.
Yeah, right.
Let's do trash. Hit it, Rockstar.
That didn't upset me. But the bitch-ass hoe
Sorry,
that told me
bitches.
to calm down, what I'd like you to do is apologize instead of being a bitch.
You're calling me sorry, but you're calling me a bitch. So set an example.
I'm sorry. My kids can't hear me calling you a bitch.
Your window's open.
They can't hear me because they're listening to Kids Spot.
LT's Trash is presented by Mortgage Right. Mortgages done the right way.
Call me baby on Kids Bop.
Call me maybe.
Maybe on Kids Bop.
Probably.
Yeah.
Let the experts at Mortgage Right help get your financial house in order with locations in Birmingham and Leeds. Mortgage Right offers a variety of loan products, fast and free pre-approvals, and reliable hands assistance that will help you take advantage of all available home buying and refinance options. With Mortgage Right, no middleman. You can trust that your files will never leave their office. Call today, 205-815-9200 or online mortgageright.com/TNR. NMLS 2239 equal housing lender.
How about for 50 years, the U.S. Open has paid the same for the men's winner and the women's winner?
How about that? America.
Really?
Yep. That's what I just read. Again, I don't watch a shot. Football's already started.
Everybody trying to be politically correct. Again, doesn't it come down to eyeballs?
I can't believe you said only $3 million. You want
no, that does seem a little light.
How does that seem light?
I mean, Mel Tucker's making $10 million a year.
Yeah, I mean, again, these are apples and oranges.
It feels like if I roll in and win the Firestone race in Dublin, Ohio, I get $10 million now.
What is the Firestone race?
I mean, the Firestone PGA stop.
No,
yeah.
yeah.
Feel like I catch $10 million for winning the Canadian Open.
I think more people are watching.
Yeah. Okay. Trash Time brought to you by Mortgage. Right?
Yeah, a man who inadvertently recorded himself murdering his mother's boyfriend.
I did not mean to do that.
Yeah, will spend 85 years behind bars following his sentencing Wednesday. I've always said this with everybody when we had the Alexas in the in the homes, like how Alexa never captured a murder.
He's not happy in this picture.
Well, I'm going to say, just looking at him now, I don't think it was an accident.
He's rough as a corn cob. What does that tat say above his right eye?
Oh, I never noticed that. I cannot tell.
Yeah,
I'm going to guess it's 666.
It might say dunce, and that would be fitting based on this.
It may say Daddy's boy.
This is in Clay County, Indiana. It was found guilty of murder, among other charges. Now, the charges had stemmed from the events on June 18th, 2020, on which date Wade stabbed Carl Haviland 4 times, causing his death. Now, the chief deputy prosecutor, Zach Klatt, said Wade had left a voicemail on his mother's phone right before the murder. Wade, however, failed to hang up.
There you go.
Ended up recording the entire incident in the voicemail. Prosecutors played the recording for the jury. During Wade's trial, he was ultimately found guilty on charges of murder, resisting law enforcement, and battery on law enforcement officers. Now, during Wednesday's sentencing, Judge Robert A. Pell sentenced Wade to a total of 85 years in prison with credit for time served. The sentences, some of which were concurrent, including 15 years for habitual offenses. He does look like he's done hard time before. He had an arson conviction in 2018.
I got you 85 years, but I knocked some of it down for time served. Yes.
All right.
Sweet.
You'll be out when you're 120.
Yeah.
I like the fact that, all right, I got to go kill my stepdad. I guess I better check in with Mom first, though. Give her a call, see how she's doing.
She was expecting me for dinner. I'm gonna be
yeah,
late.
I guess I got to
I'm
call
not
Mom
rude.
real quick.
I'd love some backstory on this,
I
though,
would
how
too.
they got all sideways. In Montenegro, they have 7 competitors lying down on mats, and they're vying for the coveted title of the Laziest Citizen Award. Now, after smashing the previous record in the satirical contest held annually in a holiday resort in northern Montenegro, lying down record of 117 hours was set at last year's contest. You got to get bed sores here, wouldn't you?
117 hours, I don't think will get you bed sores. But
they're on the floor.
Are they taking breaks to go to the bathroom?
I don't think you can stand up. I think the rule is you can't stand up.
So if I go to the bathroom, I got to crawl or
next to your neighbor, yeah.
Or I just got a catheter?
Yeah.
I think I would like saw a hole in the floor, just shit in the floor.
I mean, they got a little mats.
That's a sensible conclusion.
You see the green things, Rockstar, so they got a little mats there. They got their devices.
I mean, this doesn't seem. It does seem lazy, though.
Well, it seems like a waste of time.
Book by the cover. I think the guy in the yellow has been training.
Yeah, it was like Belushi from Animal House.
He looks comfortable.
Yeah.
Now, the contest was launched in the tiny country 12 years ago to mock a popular myth that people from Montenegro are lazy.
Yeah, I tell you, I don't see that at all.
Now, the 7 remaining contestants from a starting field of 21 have been lying down for 463 hours so far.
See, that's the problem. It goes to 117 hours. Now it's getting hard.
Yeah.
Now we're just not trying too hard.
Okay, Rockstar's got this, but each state's most popular nicknames for grandparents. When it comes to nicknames that children develop for their grandparents, a new survey from Preply found the popularity varies by state.
Ours is so stereotypical.
Mama. I mean, I had a mama.
I had a mama too.
Florida's is abuela.
Yeah, you want to talk stereotypical.
No, there's a lot of abuelas.
Yeah,
Look
California.
Yep.
They all
New
touch the
Mexico,
border.
Arizona, and Texas.
Yep.
Yeah. Nanny. My Oklahoma's nanny. It was mama and nanny. For me, Nana is what my kids call my mom, Nana. I see that in right there in Missouri.
How boring are Idaho and Virginia grandmother?
That was mine. Like, I just didn't really have a relationship with the grandparents, and they were all grandfather, grandmother.
Bubba? Bubby?
Booby?
Booby? Oh, Oma? I knew somebody who called theirs Booby.
And this is the grandfather's.
Okay.
Pop? My grandfather wanted...
Abuelo.
Abuelo.
Pop was what I called mine.
I mean, abuelo is same, California, New Mexico, which...
Yep.
Where's my dedushka?
I would think that would be in Alaska.
Yeah. Rockstar,
granddad.
do you, has Cord developed, have y'all picked the words yet? Or the names for the grandparents?
For my parents, it's Tut and Tootie. It's a long story, but they've always been like, for all their grandkids, it's Tut and Tootie. And This is the pronunciation.
Is your dad Tootie?
Yeah, my dad's Tut.
Oh,
so he knows how to go
King Tut.
Leighton came up with the names for her and Jack, and it was Gingama, which was great, and then there was Grande.
I like Grande.
And Gama. I think that's the way you let them do it. I think you let them create it.
Well, the firstborn, like my oldest, Anna Kate, was the firstborn of all the kids on my mom and dad, on both sides, actually. So she got full selection. She got first-round draft pick.
Poll question, though. There's a lot of grandparents out there that believe they should pick their own name.
I've seen it
To
done.
me, that's like almost giving your nickname.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be a good poll question. Should the kid pick it or the grandparent?
I've already told Harper and Carter if they ever bless me with grandkids, I want to be Big Papi.
I see Big Papi when I look at you.
I mean, I do. I want to be Big Papi, and I want
So
Maggie
you want to pick your name?
I want Maggie to be Big Mama, but she's totally against
I'm
that.
going to say Maggie has tapped the brakes on that one.
I call her Big Mama every now and then. She goes, if you ever want to have relations with me again, you will not use that phrase again.
What about Jimmy Grandpa?
I do not want that. I want to be Big Papi.
Yoga class was mistaken for a ritual mass murder scene after members of the public saw several people lying on the floor. Reported it to police. 5 police cars descended on the North Sea Observatory in Chapel St. Leonard's, Lincolnshire on Wednesday night. Yoga teacher Millie Law said she thought reports of her being a, quote, mass murderer were a joke at first. Police confirmed everyone was safe and well, and the call was made with, quote, good intentions. 22-year-old student said she was teaching 7 students at the Seascape Cafe, which is inside of the building, when she saw 2 dog walkers peering closely through the glass window during the relaxation stage of the class.
Like how you just assume it's a ritual mass murder. Could they be doing yoga? No, I think it's a ritual mass murder. Let's call the police.
No,
is that Kool-Aid they're drinking?
There's students laying down with blankets over them. Their eyes are closed. It's very dark in there. I just had candles and little tea lights lit the whole room. I was just walking around playing my drum. I had a nice floaty top with large bell sleeves. Now, the cafe usually plays host to yoga classes with a Facebook post adding, "We are not part of any mad cult or crazy clubs."
Do you have a salt lamp? Oh, yeah, it's way over there. There it is.
I was walking around playing my drum.
Yep. If the drum stops, someone dies.
The murderer's playing a drum. Call the police.
James Sr. is not going to be happy with this next story.
Oh, no.
Oh, boy.
New research suggests that the classic accent is dying out among younger people, with Generation X to blame for this. Now, scientists observed the most notable changes between baby boomers and those born between 1965 and 1982, when the accent fell off a cliff. Now, according to an associate professor at the University of Georgia, quote, "We found that here in Georgia, while white English speakers' accents have been shifting away from the traditional Southern pronunciation for the last few generations. Today's college students don't sound like their parents, who didn't sound like their own parents." They also added, "We've been listening to hundreds of hours of speech recorded in Georgia. We notice the older speakers often have a thick Southern drawl, while current college students do not." Now, the professor went on to say this, in turn, has led them to ask the question, which generation of Georgians sound the most Southern of all? They surmised that it was baby boomers born around the mid-20th century. They said they were surprised to see how rapidly the Southern accent drops away, starting with Gen X. I have seen that a lot.
Yeah.
Me too.
My mom, the only thing she would get on to me for saying was fixin'. Like,
Fixin' and tumped over to me.
Yeah, see, I never used tumped over. But
Did you carry Jennifer to prom?
I did not carry Jennifer to prom. I would take her to prom, but if I ever said fixin', I would immediately get corrected.
Y'all
by my
remember
mom.
when ain't was like that was like such a grammatical mistake?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I would get high school English teachers at Saks. If you used ain't, that was
y'all.
Yeah.
I use y'all all the time.
If you lean back in that chair, you're going to tump over.
Yeah. God, I've never used that.
That slips out on me every now and then. Or I was riding down the interstate. Did you see that truck? It tumped over.
Tumped over?
Yeah, I don't even know what it means. But
Yeah, tump is definitely hillbilly talk.
Tumped over.
Tumped over. Tumped over. Things tumped over. All right, that is Trash, brought to you by our friends at Mortgage Right. One more segment to go as we continue on. Don't forget, Thursday night we're at Tin Roof, but tonight We're out at Beef O'Brady's.
Yeah, the Grove and Hoover. We're going to be out there with our friends at Bud Light from 5 until 7, getting ready for the first Monday night contest of the year as Buffalo heads to New York to take on the Jets. We're going to have Bud Light specials. We're going to have Bud Light swag. So come out and join us and get ready for what seems to be, at least on paper, and by the way, we've got a lock at lanceslock.com on this game. Seems to be a really, really good AFC East matchup.
I may go one of their Beef O'Brady burgers, or maybe some nachos. Or maybe that'll just be the appetizer. We'll do little nachos.
You feel like eating tonight, don't you?
I am. I'm going to eat a little bit tonight.
Jimmy Eater.
Right before we get to that, that's my quarterback in our fantasy league, Aaron Rodgers,
Well,
tonight.
if you're going to be Big Papa, you need to start getting after it.
Big Poppy. I didn't want to straight rip off Big Papa. So I'm going to be Big Poppy.
Somebody in the Vulcan Tire and Automotive chat room, Grandpa Landmine. Would you be Grandpa Landmine?
Yeah. Well, Bobby wants to know if I'd be T-Bone.
T-Bone.
Yeah. T-Bone.
Coco the monkey.
I tell you what, though, we went into Tuscaloosa and we won some football, didn't we? We taught those boys how we're going to do it in the SEC. We'll have one more thought on Texas.
I want more buckshot on the other side.
When we come back on the show that's brought to you by Champies. Highway 119 in Alabaster, champieschicken.com.
Can we get Buckshot's reaction to the loss at Miami? Texas A&M booster Buckshot Jones.
I'll see if I can get him on the phone.
Yeah, let's see if Buckshot can call in.
Do you guys agree, though, that there are people, A&M's got private investigators digging?
No, they're looking at Michigan State like if it's this easy.
Right.
Yeah.
On the hills of Texas winning big in Tuscaloosa.
Dude, I'm even finding out where Jimbo's routine is, and I'm sending hookers his way.
Back in a moment.
Follow Scott Forrester on Twitter at ScottForresterTV.
If you're looking for a fun golf atmosphere that is laid back with a peaceful environment, the Meadows Golf Course in Harpersville, right off of Highway 280, is perfect for you. Just a short drive from Birmingham, this 18-hole, 200-acre track with rolling fairways and ample greens is the definition of peacefulness of the country just miles from the city. Enjoy a great lunch before your round and a cocktail on the wraparound porch after 18. Come see us today. The Meadows Golf Course in Harpersville, right off of Highway 280.
The Next Round store is live and loaded. Check out the latest logo t-shirts and hoodies. Get your favorite team colors, the Next Round flag shirt, or grab the popular Y'all Can Have the Rest t-shirts. Go to nextround.store. That's nextround.store.
As summer bids adieu, get ready to welcome the arrival of fall. But hey, it's not just football season making an entrance. In the world of pest, it's fall invader season. Hold on tight, because we got 4 major troublemakers stepping into the spotlight: box elder bugs, kudzu bugs, ladybugs, and stink bugs. These pests don't just knock, they barge in like they own the place. But fear not, dial up Wayne's Pest Control now, 865-588-6686, and show those fall invaders who's boss. Don't let pests crash your fall. Take charge today.
Hey, Lance Taylor from the Next Round to tell you about our friends at Gutter Cap. Gutter Cap's that patented aluminum cover system that fits over most existing gutters to keep out debris and eliminate that gutter cleaning. It's backed with a lifetime warranty, almost 20-year service record right here in Birmingham. Stay off that dangerous ladder forever. 45% off the retail price now if you call guttercapbirmingham.com. Call my good friend Chris Stewart now, 205-823-2212. Cap it, don't snap it. It's Gutter Cap.
You have all heard of Red Wing Shoes, but what is Red Wing Shoes? It's the place where men buy boots, plain and simple. Who are Red Wing's customers? They are construction workers, warehouse employees, college students, the guy that fixes your AC, the guy at the end of the bar, the IT guy. Red Wing is a father, Red Wing is a son, Red Wing is a cult following shared by all men. A classic, comfortable pair of cool boots with a story to tell. What's your Red Wing story? Red Wing Shoe Stores, located in Pelham and Trussville. Start your day online at nextroundlive.com. Get all the latest videos, podcasts, and college football stories. And it's also a great way to stream the show or shop in the Next Round store. Stay connected by visiting nextroundlive.com.
Hey, Lance Taylor from the Next Round to tell you about one of our favorite places for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That is Hamburger Heaven since 1982. Hamburger Heaven has been serving Birmingham's best hamburgers, cheeseburgers, French fries, hand-spun milkshakes, and sandwiches made fresh to order. All of their ingredients are fresh and prepared daily. This includes their beef, always fresh, never frozen, hand-pattied each and every day. For breakfast, lunch, or dinner, visit any of the 4 locations: Highway 280, Irondale, Gardendale, and Homewood.
Brett McMurphy's Action Network Final Four right now is Georgia, Michigan, Florida State, and Texas. He says Texas bumps out Washington, who he had in there last week. An evolving door. It's way too early with week 2 to be locking in on that, but that's just reflective of the top 4 in the AP right now.
I do agree with what Klatt said. I mean, the 3 easiest schedules, at least right now on paper, Georgia, Florida State, and Texas.
Our show being brought to you in part by our friends at A+.
A+ is the company that redid our bathroom, and they also do kitchens, master bath and kitchen. So you're going to get your money back. We bought our house, and we never really liked the master bath, and Jennifer and I said, all right, we're going to address that. We kicked the can down the road. Finally, she was like, we're going to do it now. So she scoured the internet to try to find the best contractor she could. You know who she found? Brad Bell, A+ Tile Home Remodeling. That was after reading reviews, talking to people who use certain contractors, talking to contractors themselves. I'm so glad we picked Brad because they did incredible work. Our bathroom was just kind of white and bright. We wanted the darker colors. We gave him that vision, and he came in and did it exactly like we wanted it. And just to show you, he's not going to try to sell you on his vision. He's going to use yours. Lance did the exact opposite. Lance had a darker bathroom. He wanted it lighter. He saw my how pleased we were with Brad Bell, so he used Brad as well. You could do it also. A+ Tile Home Remodeling. A+ Tile Home Remodeling, master bath and kitchens. That's his specialty, and it's where you're going to get your money back. 205-422-1758. That is 205-422-1758. If you missed any of this, reach out to me. I'll get you in touch with my man, Brad Bell, A+ Tile Home Remodeling.
Don't punch it yet, but Tyler, can you just punch up the monitor real quick, the Jimbo Fisher still shot here real quick?
It's like he's floating in space.
It's like, hey, we're going to use the maroon, the color backdrop in the post game. Hell no, cover it in black. As we're going to a funeral, we're not going to use any color in the backdrop there. He doesn't get to sit in front of the A&M logo after we played like that. Hell no.
What's Buckshot's last name? I forgot.
Buckshot.
Buckshot Walker.
Buckshot Walker. Yeah. No.
Dude, he's
not sitting in front of the gig him hell.
I would be sitting in front of every sponsorship you could line up behind him to buy him out.
Buckshot.
Here's Jimbo after the loss down in Miami.
Guys played their tails off. 15 plays hard out. I thought he played really good in the game. That gives us a chance to win and get back down there. Almost got us back to, we could onside kick it and play. Receivers made some plays. Defense, we made plays in all 3 phases, but we gave plays up in all 3 phases. We gave up some deep balls, and too many didn't find the plays at the right time. And give them credit, and we got to fix those things and move on.
Should the expectations for this season be adjusted?
I ain't worried about expecting. We got to worry about next week. We shouldn't adjust anything. What we need to do is go focus and play a good game next week and get better the next week, the next week, and the next week.
Son, did you say we shouldn't adjust anything?
That's what he said.
DJ Dirk, you need to get on that ass because, boy, that defense had a complete come apart in the second half. Jimbo, over the weekend, I had so many people, and maybe it's because of the way I've spoke about Jimbo over the years, but Jimbo seems like one of the most disliked coaches in all of college football.
Yeah, I think it's because he's getting paid so much money and he's not earning it. I do think once you get those big contracts and you don't earn it, I think people turn on you, whether they like you or not. They just, I don't know if it's jealousy. I don't know if it's just like you're ripping people off. I don't know, but he's not earning it. He's not earning it.
That's what the market demanded for him. So I don't blame Jimbo for obviously taking as much money as he could get. But if you guys were in that situation, you would feel a little guilty, wouldn't you?
And he may. But he can't stand up there and say that, though. He's answering it the way he has to answer it. It's just it doesn't inspire any confidence in me.
But would you walk to them Sunday and you say, listen, I know you guys are not happy with me. $39 million cash, and I'll walk away right now. One-time payment.
Or I would pull a Jim Harbaugh. I work for Jim Harbaugh. Hey, look, let's reduce my pay. I'm not earning it right now. And ever since Jimbo did that, Jim Harbaugh did that, Michigan has become a beast.
Yeah, but I if I don't want to give you back money and me keep working.
No, you're not. I'm just taking a pay cut.
Yeah.
I don't deserve $10 million a year. Give me $5 million a year for the next couple of years, and if I do what I think I'm going to do and win a championship, then we can bounce back.
I love working. I'll go ahead and tell you, but if I'm owed $78 million and you guys don't want me around anymore, if I could walk in and say, okay, give me $40 million,
$39
million upfront cash, one-time payment, and let's go ahead and end this now. I'll save you a 50% off, basically. and we'll go ahead and just end this thing right now. Before we have a little bit more in Jimbo, 6-time national champions at Alabama, Nick Saban, 7 overall, considered to be the greatest college coach of all time after a loss. You just heard how Jimbo explained it. Here's how Nick Saban explained the loss.
And it all starts with me, and I obviously let our team down in terms of, how we were able to execute and play. We went back up and had like 10 penalties, 2 of which, negated touchdowns. They got 10 points off of turnovers, and we gave up way too many explosive plays on defense. We have to correct all those things if we're going to be able to play and have the kind of team we're capable of having. So I believe in these players. These players have worked hard. There was a great atmosphere in the stadium tonight. I appreciate the fans, and they did their part for sure. We didn't do our part well enough. It starts with me, as I said before, but we're going to do everything we can to get it right and get it fixed.
I mean, now he's got FU money. I mean, he doesn't even need it anymore. He's closer to the end, and he's sitting there saying, it's on me, man. It's on me. You just don't hear that kind of stuff from Jim.
I think he cares more about winning than he cares about money. But Alabama right now, so they've won 6 national championships under Nick Saban, 2 of which they were undefeated. The other 4, they've had a loss. And right now, Vegas is giving you 20-1. Look, I don't think Alabama wins a national championship. I said it before the season. But you can get 20-1, and last week it was just 6-1. So you're getting really good odds. I mean, if you think Alabama can actually bounce back.
Well, Klatt told you they got the best roster. They need a quarterback, though.
I mean,
a quarterback whisperer or a solution. Yeah. And real quickly, Tommy Rees is catching a lot of heat. Do you guys think he called a bad game?
No.
I did see this. It's going to take me a second to find this.
Yeah. I'll just tell you.
You do, though. When you have that much pressure, you've got to counter that. And you've got to make some plays to take a little pressure off the quarterback. But at the same time, you're not running the football. So I don't know. I mean, I thought some of the deep shots, he hit. The intermediate routes were open. So I didn't necessarily have a problem calling the game.
There were some open receivers.
Yeah.
He just didn't hit him.
Clint Lamb. Yeah, Clint Lamb, our friend with On3. Tommy Rees started yesterday's game by calling a passing play on 3 of Alabama's first 4 first downs, all right? So they were 75% first down passes until the interception. After that, Rees called a run on 8 of the next 9 first downs. They went run 88, almost 90% of the time.
Well, let me ask you a question. If you went to pet my dog,
okay,
and my dog bit you, the next time you go to pet that dog, would you be a little bit more cautious?
I would, but also I'm not trying to instill confidence in your dog. And what do you think that does to Jalen Milroe when, all right, we're going to throw the ball on first down, Jalen. Oh, God, you threw an interception. It's nothing but runs now. I mean, I get that you got to protect the football, Jim, but you've also got you got to tell your quarterback you trust in him a little bit, even if you don't.
Unless you don't.
Yeah, but if you don't, I mean, if you don't, you're not going to win the game anyway.
Well, that's why I was surprised, and that's great information, great numbers by Clint. But I think we all saw it as we were watching the game that the play calling now, specifically on first down, doesn't look like they trust the quarterback anymore, which is why I think a lot of people are like, if you don't trust the quarterback anymore, why are you not trying QB2?
Well, and from that stat to Alabama 5 of 14 on third downs, I wonder what the average distance to go on those third downs were. Like if those first down runs put you in a situation where it's 2nd and 9, and then you pick up a few more yards and, your average to go is like 3rd and 6 or 3rd and 7. I mean, percentage-wise, you're just not going to convert a lot of those.
Well, here's how bad they were on first down.
It did seem like the whole night it was third and 5+.
Well, let me give you this stat, and this also from Clint as he broke down film. Alabama had 16. If I read this right, they've got 21 second down plays, okay? If I read this right. 16 of those 2nd and 7 or longer. 5 of those 2nd and 6 or shorter. I mean, that, man, if you're 2nd and 7 or more on 16 of your 21 second down plays,
that's a problem.
You hadn't done crap on first down all night. And that's what those numbers tell you is Alabama, their big issue was obviously getting a drive started the right way on first down. Well, I mean, you're fighting out of the hole the whole time.
So Alabama didn't score a touchdown until the third quarter, right?
Yeah. I actually started to think, had Alabama, the last game they didn't score a touchdown in was game of the century, I think. Because I didn't think they were going to score one.
I was talking to our buddy Preston. He's a big Alabama fan. And I said, do you remember the days when, like, I'll never forget, so Alabama against Miami in that opener, I didn't turn it on until like 5 seconds into the game, and they'd already scored 7.
Oh, yeah.
And Alabama used to score within the first minute 95% of their games. Remember, it was kind of a running joke, play Alabama in the first half, because they're going to come out and they're going to dominate.
Daniel says Alabama had 2 attempts, 3 yards or less on third down all night. 2.
Oof.
Yeah, and it does seem like Texas had a lot of third down plays. I don't have the stats in front of me, but it seemed like they had a lot, and we're getting a lot of third down conversions.
Yeah, Texas was 7 of 18.
On third down?
On third down.
That is a lot of third down plays, 18 of them.
18 of them.
Yeah.
Which means that defense was
doing
well until they weren't.
The defense can be good. Again, I think you need to address, and maybe Texas' offensive line is just that good. But, outside of not being able to get to yours, which is a big problem, I still think the defense can be really good.
I thought the defense played a lot on the edge. They were put on the edge by their offense a lot, and it eventually broke. I mean, eventually on that deep ball, the defense broke, and then, it was tough. It was Texas playing downhill after that, Jim. But I thought really, especially in the first half, the defense played you well enough to have you in that game when your offense wasn't doing much at all.
Oh, by the way, 10 penalties too. That's a problem.
That became a lot of it looked like
a lot of it was offensive line
at times last year. There were some problems.
You had 2 touchdowns called back. Now, I will say this. The man downfield, when my quarterback tucks the ball and starts to run, if I'm a lineman, I can't just stand around.
Yeah.
I got to try to help my quarterback.
That looked like a great play on the surface.
It did. But, once he tucks it, and literally, if you'll go back and watch, Milroe has already tucked it. And then he sees what he thought was an open receiver, almost threw a pick. And then he stops and throws. Well, if I'm a lineman, if I see my guy tuck, I'm going to get downfield and block a tackler. Or at least I'm going to try.
Yeah.
So it's hard to blame him for that one.
I agree. Burton's third touchdown finally counted. The other 2 were called back. Third time was a charm there. A couple of the DB, the holdings on, I believe it was Terrion Arnold.
Yeah, he had a tough game.
I mean, one time he was going to get beat, so he had to grab a hold of the guy.
7.
It was either that or 7, 15 or 7.
That's a good penalty.
And Tyler asked about the backward pass call. They got that right in review. Nobody ever had that snap.
They did not. They did not.
You say they didn't get it right, or nobody ever had the snap? Yeah,
nobody ever had the snap.
Yeah, they got that right in review. Yeah. Now, it's a weird rule, and you hardly ever see it come into play, but that was a muff snap. It was not a fumble.
Yeah, and so by that way, you can advance it.
That's right.
If it had actually been a fumble,
if
it had held it at all, then it would have been Alabama's ball.
That's right.
Yeah, weird game, but not as weird as Alabama's losses usually, just a good old-fashioned ass-whooping. And a double-digit loss, first double-digit loss at home since 2004. For Alabama. That's PS, pre-Saban. Speaking of Nick Saban, his news conference is coming up on the other side. We'll do a little overtime after a quick break here at the top of the hour. Don't forget, we're at Beef O'Brady's tonight at the Grove, 5 to 7. Come out and get ready for a little Monday Night Football. Until next time, God bless you and God bless America. All right, back with you now as we do a little overtime today. Brownie and I will hang here and get ready for the Nick Saban news conference. We'll jump over there, thanks to our friends at the University of Alabama, and listen in to Coach Nick Saban after he's had a little time to talk and break down the film on Sunday. And the first thing he's going to see when he starts breaking down the film, I would imagine, would be the pressure that was put on his new starting quarterback in Jalen Milroe. That was one thing that I think surprised a lot of people, that Texas was able to put so much pressure on the Alabama QB.
Yeah, I don't think you can look at that and think you got the offensive line play you're going to need to get. A lot of times you can read into what Nick Saban is going to say by, who they named as players of the week. And I think that'll be interesting because a lot of times you're like, oh, okay, well, I don't look at the film. I didn't know that guy performed that well, right? I would imagine when you start looking at name of the week, or players of the week, it is going to be hard to start looking at offensive line players. He named on offense one singular player, Kobe Prentice. And I thought Prentice had a good game.
I did too, but I also thought Isaiah Bond had a good game.
Yeah, it didn't get named, but I agreed. Malachi Moore was the defensive player, and then 3 special teams players.
Yeah, that was one of the upsides.
Yeah. James Burnip, Kendrick Law, and Will Riker. Those were the Alabama Offensive Players of the Week. My point there is a lot of times they'll come in with a offensive lineman, and you're like, oh, okay, well, that guy must have graded out really well on film. I think when you watch that offensive line film, you probably don't see a whole lot of passing grades.
Yeah, you probably asking yourself before the season started, why is Alabama playing in Tampa? Why are they going to USF? I always thought this was one of those games you sign up for recruiting. Get down in Florida. You did it in Atlanta early on with that one-off game. Another chance to go into Florida here and sort of, maybe stake a flag in that Tampa area, that IMG region, that area.
Yeah, this was a 2-for-1 if memory serves. I think South Florida's coming to Tuscaloosa twice. And, one road trip to Tampa. While we wait on Coach, we do have TV kick times for, obviously, we know this Saturday. This is for next Saturday. Just the highlights. Auburn is at Texas A&M straight out of game day on ESPN, 11 a.m. kick. Straight out of game day for Auburn, Texas A&M. Alabama, Ole Miss is the SEC game. 2:30 kick for Alabama and Ole Miss. I mean, Alabama's still a top 10 team. They're not going to lose to South Florida. Ole Miss is a top 20 team, and they're very unlikely to lose to Georgia Tech. So that's a top 20 matchup. Arkansas, LSU is your ESPN prime game. At 6 o'clock Central Time. UAB is at Georgia on ESPN2 at 6:30. There are several other games that are SEC Network or ESPNU games, but that's your top matchups there. Auburn, Texas A&M straight out of game day on ESPN at 11. Bama, Ole Miss on CBS at 2:30. Arkansas at LSU, the ESPN 6 o'clock game, and UAB at Georgia, ESPN2 at 6:30.
I was surprised that Auburn stopped getting any votes in the AP poll this week. They had been getting 1 or 2 points, but I did not see them in the others. So even at unbeaten, Auburn is not going to be ranked when they play Texas A&M.
It was a pretty ugly win. Yeah, I think a lot of people looked at that and thought that was a pretty ugly win for them, and that it almost felt like a loss. I even had Auburn fans telling us on the postgame Saturday night that felt like a loss. That even though it was a win, it is hard to view that in their eyes as a win. It just felt like a loss that you somehow ended up ahead on the scoreboard.
Yeah. All right. Alabama's Nick Saban about to make his way to the podium here. We'll listen in. This is overtime with the next round, and then we'll hear from Hugh Freeze as Auburn continues to stay unbeaten. Here is Alabama's head coach, Nick Saban.
Good. So I don't think it's any huge secret or anything that we did not execute on a consistent enough basis, in this last game. And, too many turnovers, penalties, mental errors on defense, sacks. Things that are helpful in being consistent in terms of whether it's sustaining drives, not giving up big plays that, lead to field position and scores. So the focus is 100% on how we get it turned around. The future is now. All right, so how do we get our players to we got to do a better job as coaches to help them be able to play, better, more consistently in the game, put them in a position where they have the best chance to be successful. But I think all these things are fixable, very fixable. I believe in our players. I think we've got good players. I think, Texas has a good team. And just like I said before, it was a test. It was like, an early test in the semester. We didn't grade out very well on the test. So, what are we going to do to get a better grade? I think that's what we have to really learn and grow from and make a commitment to. And, I think our players with the kind of character and attitude that we've shown, so far as a team, I think they'll respond the right way. And I think the coaches will do the same. South Florida is got a first-year coach, and, they're moving the ball and scoring points. And, it's not about necessarily always who we play. It's how we technically and execute against the team that we play so we have a chance to be successful. It's a road game. It's our first road game. They've got some good players. They've got a pretty good quarterback. They play hard on defense. So everyone's capable. But it's about you playing to your standard, us playing to our standard, and trying to play the kind of football that we need to play so that we have a chance to be more successful on a more consistent basis.
Hey, Coach. When you go back and look at the film, what did you see as the biggest issue with the pass rush, and how do you kind of get more of that going forward?
Well, I think we gave up one sack on a pressure. Most of it was we gave up a sack on a three-man rush. We gave up several sacks on four-man rushes. I think we're too soft setting in the line. We got to be firmer in protection. Pocket can't collapse, but people have to get open. Quarterback has to process quickly and get the ball out of his hand. We can't hold the ball. So it's a combination of all those things, I think, that was a problem. But it wasn't like there was some scheme that they were running that we didn't have it picked up. We just didn't get them blocked like we need to.
What do you see as the identity of this offense?
I don't know that in this past game we had much of identity. I think we started out early in the game being able to run the ball effectively, and we did not mix up the play-action pass and to complement the run game, and eventually, it got harder and harder to run the ball. We did make some explosive plays on offense, but it's too like hit or miss. You got to have consistency to be able to sustain drives, and that's the one thing that we didn't do. We made explosive plays, but we weren't consistent enough in terms of developing identity, to use your term. But the identity that we'd like to have is to be physical enough to be able to run the ball consistently, effectively, but also be able to have a good play-action game to go with it, be able to drop back when we need to, and be efficient and effective in all those areas. And I can't say that we were in this game, other than making some explosive plays. We didn't do that well enough.
How would you evaluate the defense's ability to create pressure on the quarterback in the first two games?
I think it was okay in the first game. Of course, it wasn't the same level of competition. And I think that obviously we didn't get any sacks in the game. We didn't have a lot of success, the kind of success that we'd like to have on third down. And I think that's something that we need to improve on, no doubt. We didn't do a great job of covering them. Sometimes you get coverage sacks. So we didn't cover them long enough that the quarterback couldn't get the ball out of his hand quickly. And we didn't affect the quarterback in the game at all, and we need to improve on that.
This 2-for-1 game contract with South Florida is a really unusual thing. I think it's the only 2-for-1 Alabama's been involved in since you've been here. Do you have any thoughts on why that style of contract is so uncommon?
Well, I think the goal is to, when you're trying to play home and home games, the goal is to try to enhance the quality of opponents that you have. So, you just can't go out and say, hey, let's play a game, and everybody agrees to it. You got to negotiate your way through to see who you can play and who you can't play. And, it's been our goal. Now, this was before conference realignment, so that may have some impact on it in the future, was we wanted, since we're not going to play in a neutral site game, can we get 2 quality opponents to be able to play in every season besides the SEC games? So we have 10 games that, and look, it's not easy to find people that will play you, and sometimes you have to give and take a little bit to try to get those games to where we have a quality home schedule, and we are playing 2 teams that are Division I caliber, decent teams to play. So scheduling is very difficult, and we've tried to get it to where we're playing 2 teams, and I think in most years we are moving forward.
How would you assess the players' energy levels heading into the Texas game, and if it was up to the standard you had for the team?
Yeah, I think the energy level was good. I think we started out the game really good. Did we sustain it for 60 minutes in the game? No. Did we play well in the fourth quarter? No. But it doesn't have as much about how you started. We started out, I thought, really well in the game. Good energy, physical, knocked the ball off of them a couple times, ran the ball effectively in the beginning of the game. But our ability to sustain was not what it needs to be, and we didn't play well enough in the fourth quarter.
We talked after the game about the Jalen Milroe's confidence level on the sidelines. He came to talk after you spoke on Saturday night, and we were really impressed with how positive he was despite not the best game. Is that what you're looking for throughout the year? And how big is that to be that confident player?
I think it's important at all positions. You know, the one thing you don't want to do is get frustrated as a player. You don't want one play to affect the next play. And to stay positive, but you can say stay positive, but we all have self-talk, right? But you got to believe it. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to do this, but don't believe you can do it. You got to believe and trust in yourself too. So I think the players stayed positive. They tried to keep their energy level up. They didn't get frustrated in the game, and Jalen didn't either. But still, you got to trust and have faith, confidence in doing what you're coached to do on a consistent basis, and that's going to help you be successful.
Yeah, Coach, on Saturday night you said the Texas game was a midterm, not the final. With a long season still to go, how do you think the team's mindset is right now?
Well, I haven't talked to the team since after the game. I'll see them today, when we watch the film. But I would be shocked if this team does not respond in a really positive way to trying to get better, to try to do the things they need to do to get fixed. But we have to have better execution. We got to do simple things better, whether it's pass protection, blocking, controlling the line of scrimmage, not giving up big plays on defense, whatever. Those are the things that are going to change. This is not just about attitude of players. They all wanted to win more than any fan, more than anybody in this room, and they put all the work and preparation into it. And I feel badly for them that we weren't able to do whatever we need to do as coaches to try to help them have a better chance to be successful in the game. And we're all responsible for it, and we're all going to try to work hard to get better. So I would be shocked if these guys don't come in here today with the attitude that we're going to go out there and try to improve and get better, and the future is now. I mean, we got to do it now. That's the main thing.
What have you seen from Tyler Buckner over the last couple of weeks as he's had more time in the system?
Yeah, well, he played really well in the last scrimmage, and he's done well in practice. So we feel really good about sort of how he's continued to improve and develop and gain confidence in what he's doing, and have a good feeling around, the teammates and the receivers and all that type of thing.
Coach, throughout the offseason, you talked about having confidence that you had 7 or 8 starters along the offensive line. Did you have any consideration of making any moves during the game along the offensive line?
Not really. We have confidence in the guys that are playing, and sure, they need to play better. But, if we thought somebody was more ready to play, we want the competition. We want guys to improve, to compete for playing time. But we also want them to be able to take advantage of the opportunity when they get it. So they got to prepare themselves properly to be able to do that. And we're going to keep working with as many guys as we can to get them to be able to play winning football.
Hey, Coach, just wanted your assessment. I know it's been a small sample size to this point, just the pass catchers, receivers, and tight ends through 2 games so far.
Well, we only had one drop ball, one thing that you could consider being a drop ball in the last game. So that part of it was pretty decent in the last game. I don't think we always got the ball to guys at times, and I think there were times when we didn't do a good enough job of getting open so that we had options. So it's a combination of, I'm not disappointed in our receivers. I think our receivers can make explosive plays. Everyone's got to be more consistent so we can develop a timing in the passing game between the protection, the receivers, and the quarterback, so that we can be more consistent in what we're doing and eliminate some of the negative plays. That's the key to the drill. All right, thank you.
All right, that's Nick Saban there. His big takeaway, the future is now. He said that 2 or 3 times during the news conference. We'll hear from Hugh Freeze after the win at Cal in just a second. 2 things he said there about the offense. Can't hold the ball, talking quarterback there. and didn't mix in the play action enough after they established the run early on. Talking about the offensive coordinator there. Two thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, I think those are things that, obviously it's probably easier to pick those up on film than it is in real time. If you pick it up in real time, Nick Saban probably says that over the headset, right? So you look back at it on film and you hope it is, a learning experience for Tommy Rees. And if Nick Saban goes to him and says, hey, we got to do more of this or less of this, Tommy Rees is able to adjust in real time. Good offensive coordinators are able to do that when their head coach tells them this is the way we're going to do it.
Yeah. I'll tell you, the bad interception in the fourth quarter was a play action, though.
Yeah.
Play action pass, and he never looked at the safety.
Not one time. And that safety was right there in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
It's not like they were disguising anything.
Just waiting on that throw.
Yeah,
and
just
it was
reading the quarterback who was staring down the receiver.
play action
Yep.
and never looked anywhere else.
That's right.
And never pulled that safety anywhere else. And he did say he'd be shocked twice. Shocked that if this team doesn't show up today with a good attitude and ready to move forward.
Yeah, I mean, those words carry a lot of weight. This is a guy that's seen a lot of football, and he's normally pretty honest about his team. And I could have heard Nick Saban saying, look, my concern is whether or not this team will react well to this, and the only way we'll see is how they play moving forward. He could have easily said that. For him to twice say, I'll be shocked if they don't, I think is an indicator that he at least likes maybe the mental makeup of his team. Maybe it's not translating onto the field the way he wanted it to Saturday night, but he likes the mental makeup of it.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm more nervous by his public confidence and not seeing a hellfire and brimstone news conference.
Right.
I don't know yet. It was different. It was very different sounding. All right. Meanwhile, down at Auburn, Hugh Freeze earlier last hour with his news conference talking about the win at Cal. Here's the Auburn head coach, 2-0, getting ready to be back in the friendly confines of Jordan-Hare Stadium.
It's one of the tougher trips I think you have in college football to go play a game, on the West Coast, and I thought our kids handled it well. I thought they played with great energy and passion and togetherness, and they fought for the 60 minutes, and obviously extremely happy to get out of there, with a win against another Power 5 opponent. And I think I saw a stat somewhere that teams that turned the ball over 4 times, plus the number of first downs we had, I think it's like 1 in 65 or something, and now it's 2 in 66, I guess, or that could be wrong on the numbers. Don't quote me on that, but it seemed a pretty. You just don't win many games like that, and so we're very fortunate. But I know this. I don't know that I've ever had a season where you didn't have a game where you felt like, God, we easily could have lost that game, but boy, our kids found a way, and you can build on stuff like that. And just really proud of our staff and kids. I don't think anyone quit believing that we could win the game, and it showed in the way they played. And obviously the defense had more than their share of times that they had to go back out there and too quick, and because of the number of turnovers and lack of production on third down. And man, they never once, it was always, we got you. And I'm just really proud of that growth that we can use to build on for sure. And obviously they played, really well on that side of the ball, and special teams played better than average, but not great, but better than average. Offense was awful, and we got the ball in the third quarter. I don't know how many minutes were left, but our first possession in the third quarter, we had only had 25 offensive plays. And I do believe we had a really good plan offensively, particularly in the second half, and think we would have scored points had we not turned it over 2 more times. But we only had 4 possessions, and those turnovers are just, you can't win football games turning the ball over. And thought we were ripping off some pretty good runs, and either had a penalty or a turnover for those few possessions that we had the second half. So I think there's some things we can build on for sure, but ultimately the bottom line is our kids found a way to win, and we celebrate that. And you can write it however you want to write it, but the bottom line is Auburn Tigers are 2-0, and we celebrate that.
Coach, all offseason you talked about it through the fall and even through the season as it started. Robbie Ashford was going to be a huge part of your team's success. We saw a heavy dosage of him on Saturday night, flipping back and forth between him and Peyton Thorne. What was their response, Peyton and Robbie's response, and their attitude towards both of them seeing heavy minutes on Saturday?
Yeah, I haven't seen them and talked to them today yet, and obviously everybody's on the plane ride was just trying to rest, and they both seem fine. I don't know that that's exactly what I want it to look like, but we just had no juice, no momentum, and so you're kind of searching for it, and we've got to figure that piece of it out to where you're not we need Peyton to play better, truthfully, too. Now, the last drive, he played well. Prior to that, I think a few of the throws were inaccurate. And I thought he left the pocket early once. And look, I'm not beating up Peyton. He played really well that last possession, but we do need more consistency there throughout the whole game. And that's our challenge, is to get him and Robbie and Holden to that point. And so they know that, but, Robbie's got to get his touches. And we had a really good package for him and had a good drive going in that package, and then one of our running backs went the wrong way, and it created a negative play and got us behind the chains. And so it was just one thing after another offensively, which ultimately, it has to start with me and our offensive staff as to why we, did some of the things we did. We don't control the fumbles necessarily, but there were other things that happened that caused us negative plays that, maybe we need to coach better.
Well, you can talk too. One of the things you've talked about is taking shots downfield. You didn't do much of that Saturday. Was that by design? Was it something Cal was doing, or was it just the ineffectiveness doing it?
Well, Cal was, I think we only called 3. And probably should have called more. But it was Cal, played us a little differently. But there were times that I thought, had early in the game, I know we had one real shot, and, we read a different side of the field. And then our receivers didn't win a few of the others that we called. They were in man coverage quite a bit. And they won some of those battles on us.
Coach, after the first game, you mentioned some of the defensive alignment issues. How did you work on that, and were you pleased with the progress they made in week 2?
We definitely made progress. It was much better. The effort was incredible. Lows were way, way down. We still have some alignment issues. But, every game you're going to have some. I would like for it to be in the single digits. I think we were around 10. But they weren't. Some of them were being really ticky-tack and hard. You should be lined up in a 30 technique, and you're not quite there at linebacker. So we're being really hard on that right now. But so some of them were pretty insignificant, and there were others that could have been significant. And again, you're not going to ever completely change that, because the offenses are going to throw something at you that you didn't prepare for, or some motion or some shift. We just got to make sure we're all on the same page when that occurs, and there were a few of those early in the second half that we were still trying to figure that out as the ball was being snapped. So we got to continue to work on it, but it was much better.
Coach, you've chosen to give up play calling for the first time in your career. How would you characterize what we saw on offense Saturday? Was it more play calling, or was it more on the execution side? And did you take over play calling at 80 Point during that game?
No, I called 3 things in that game, and it's hard. I'm not going to lie. And, I don't want to make I have great confidence in our staff. And, one game is not something that you should, particularly when you have 4 turnovers and the number of penalties we had that got us behind the chains. I just think that, I know I'm not making any excuses, because we have to own what's on the film, but when you turn it over 4 times and you don't get a lot of possessions in a game, it's hard. And that's kind of where we were. And every time we did get an explosive run on the reverse or something, there's another penalty. And we did everything that we didn't do in the first game. We didn't have turnovers. We didn't have penalties. And dang, if we didn't look like it was the first game offensively. And so I did not take it over. I did call the fade to Rivaldo and a couple other things. But no, it's not at that point at all. I have great confidence in them. We've had a lot of tough talks this morning. And, you know, I can't be everywhere, but ultimately I have to own everything. And I spent a lot of time with our defensive guys last week and going to spend a lot of time with our offensive guys this week. And but it's really not it's about us all seeking wisdom as to how we can get better, me included. And, you know, that was our main theme this morning in our truth meeting is, man, how do you seek wisdom to get better and to improve the chances our kids have of winning football games and being better men? And, you know, what does that look like for you? And who do you have? And we've got to have each other. And everybody's got assistants in this building, assistant O-line coaches, D-line coaches, safety coaches, quarterback coaches. And it's high time that nobody has an ego and we all like, all right, how can are we doing too much of something? And what can we do? And who needs the touches? And, you know, like 5 and 6 for us need more touches. Those two guys they're our best receivers. Now, I wish they were bigger because the catch radius is not big, but, and we got to improve the others, but those guys are pretty good in space. And so we've got to use those guys more. Rivaldo obviously needs to be utilized, and he was well in the second half, but we got to play to our strengths and figure out how to make it look different every week. And so those are some of the things I challenged them with this morning is, you know, how are you going to do that? And if you need help, I swear I can help. I'll draw them up and show you how to make it look different. But they have the ability to do that. And so, again, I think it's I know you guys have to, I mean, it was ugly. There's no two ways around it, but you also have to take into account the number of turnovers and penalties for possessions versus was it just awful play calls. I didn't see many awful play calls, truthfully. They all have a chance to work. Nothing schematically was off about it. I think we need a little more balance, and we got to figure out what that looks like exactly that our quarterbacks and receivers can handle. And our RPO world, we didn't utilize near enough. We've got to work on that. So we'll challenge each other to be better this week as coaches and players.
It's on the point of a play calling, when you talk to Philip about that, as you mentioned, like, what does that look like going forward now? As you were saying, it was hard to keep yourself from calling more plays at that point.
We're not overreacting to anything. I have great trust in him. We're going to work together this week on the game plan, and you know, and obviously he doesn't have an ego. He doesn't care if I step in and call it, but I need to probably be in more meetings. And like I said last week, we were really that game went nothing like I expected. I just got to tell you, it was nothing like I expected, and which is good and bad, I guess. So we worked really hard on how do we come up with the right defensive plan for our guys, and how do we handle the tempo. And heck, if they didn't go much tempo at all, really. I mean, they went a few plays, but nothing like what I'm used to from Spavital. And we never got in our tempo hardly at all because we never were efficient enough on first down to get in it. And it just was totally different than what I expected. But, again, no, Philip is going to be fine. And but, yeah, we're going to work together this week and see if we can't get a great plan in place to not repeat last week's performance.
How do you think Peyton did with his decision-making, specifically in the RPOs that you guys called? I know that was something from
We
week
didn't
one.
call enough. We didn't call enough RPOs, so I can't say Peyton was that was him. I just think he was inconsistent with the early throws that we had. And that really continued. Again, third quarter, we didn't have the ball very much, or the fourth quarter, truthfully. So, the last drive is one we're going to choose to concentrate on and focus on and see if we can't build on that. But it was inconsistent until that point.
When you look at this defense, how much have they progressed since the start of this preseason? And then just talk about the job your staff has done in trying to fill pieces, because you've had some injuries on that side, and they just kind of keep plugging in.
It was a little scary the second half. We had Keontae out and Simpson out to start the third quarter, which we already had Pritchett out, who couldn't play. And so you're playing a lot of young guys that hadn't had a ton of reps. And so and Keontae was out until the last drive, truthfully, the whole second half. So, and then DK went out. So we were greatly challenged. Nixon dinged his hand there, his wrist that he had surgery on, and we're thin at linebacker, really thin. And so it was quite a challenge. So really proud of our kids and the staff. They just kept battling and finding a way to get off the field and get important stops. Did we improve from week 1 to week 2? Absolutely. Now, are we fixed yet and ready to say we're fixed to dominate and hold every opponent to 10 points? I would like to say that, but that's not accurate. We got to keep working because tougher tests are coming.
Do you expect those guys like Donovan and Pritchett back this week? Some of the guys that you mentioned.
It's too early to tell, I think, on both. I would love to hope that they both would be ready to go for sure, but it's too early to tell. We'd love to we're without J.D. Rhyme so far, too, this year, and I think he could help us. So, but it's too early on Monday to tell.
I want to ask you about Kayan Lee. I mean, he played a lot of snaps the other day, and he played a lot better than he did against UMass. Are you seeing him kind of step it up?
Yeah, and there's, we think he's going to be really he's really talented. He's going to be really good. He's just young. There's times I think he's still a little unsure about his confidence level and gives too much ground. There were a couple of those in the game, and obviously the 15-yard penalty we don't need. That was critical at that juncture. But did he play well? Yes. He still can get better, yes, but I'm glad we have him. We're really thin back there right now.
Yes, you mentioned playing Jay Fair and Varmore together. Do you think Fair is more built to play on the outside, or do you think it's the other way around?
I don't think either are built to play outside, truthfully, but obviously unless you get in 10 personnel, there's one of them will have to if you're going to play them both at the same time. And so I don't know if I said that. I said they need to get more touches. Now, does that look like them playing more at the same time? Maybe. We got to figure that out this week for sure, or today.
Thank you. 2 questions, if I may, but first one, just in your coaching experience, a win like this in an adverse situation, how does that pay dividends later in the season? And then secondly, just looking ahead to Samford, curious if you have any relationship with Chris Hatcher and what you know about the Bulldogs.
Yeah, there's no question. You're very sharp with the question, because a win like that's a tough trip. And I won't go on Thursday again if we ever have to do that again. And that trip back is really, really, really hard. I mean, we rolled in here at 10 o'clock yesterday morning, and I don't know that you can recover immediately in the next week for that. But I think there's so much to build on, because I'm still learning this team. They're still learning me, and I was so pleased of the way it just was no panic. It was just, we're going to figure this out somehow, some way, and get out of here with a win. And not every team in year one have I felt could handle that, and I wasn't sure about our kids, truthfully, and I really thought we were going to go in there and score 30, 40 points and make it easy on the defense, and Lord knows that didn't happen. And I was so proud of just the leadership on that side of the ball that just, we got you. And Eugene Asante played his tail off, and as did others. I don't want to get to pointing them out, but he played really well. Jalen McLeod makes us different when he's playing. So there's so much to build on from that, because we're going to have some adverse situations in this league. particularly at the point we are in our program. And so we can point back to these moments of how you should fight to the end, regardless of what the result ends up being. That's the way we should keep fighting. So I think that's, Hatcher and I have known each other for years. I think he's one of the better offensive coaches in football. He's done a remarkable job there, and he will have his kids excited and well prepared to play here, I have no doubt. And they'll test you in the passing game for sure and throw it all around. I know I think the last time he played here, I believe it was here. I know I watched the film somehow, but I think it was here. But, man, it was every polecat and quads and every formation you can imagine that he pulled out and had success moving the ball. And so I have great respect for him as a man and as a coach, and I know he'll have his guys ready.
When it comes to your run defense, how did you see them respond based off of what wasn't a great performance in week 1 against UMass, plus the outside chatter from your opponent? How did you see that run defense respond on Saturday and moving forward for Samford this week?
Well, the stats are what they are, and so they performed, and they stopped the run. And so we absolutely improved from week 1 to week 2 in that, and I don't know that has any bearing on what you do in week 3. You better prepare the same way, and you better have a great plan, and know you've got to do it again and again and again. And but we did absolutely felt like we had to stop the run and make them one-dimensional. We weren't sure that either quarterback could all night long throw it and beat us. I said wasn't sure. I'm not saying they couldn't, but it wasn't enough tape to really. But we kind of just, when you look at 2 transfer guys and they weren't used to throw it at their old school, you kind of just hope in your mind that's a situation where maybe they can't throw it well enough to beat you. So let's be sure we've got to stop the run, because they had really talented running backs, and I thought our kids did a great job of doing that.
Coach, you mentioned getting 5 and 6 more touches. What about the rest of the wide receiver room? Are you expecting more production out of the other guys too?
Well, you sure hope so. Well, we haven't proved we can do it yet. So until we do, we've got to prove that we can win some one-on-ones and we can throw accurate balls to them, and we got to keep improving that room. I've said that since I got here, and that's still the case.
Coach, the Cal running back, the young guy, Jayden Ott, gave you guys what might be a little bit of bulletin board material before this one. We had heard that maybe they'd use that for some motivation. How much do you use those kind of things to motivate your team going into a matchup like this?
I honestly don't really use that a lot. I think I heard our kids talking about it, which I don't think that hurt, and I hope he's okay. I know he got hurt, and but I don't like our kids to do that. I hope ours don't ever for games, because it did probably fire our guys up a little bit defensively. And I did mention it in my pregame talk. I was comparing it to one of my real life experiences with a guy in high school, and I did use that in pregame. But I don't think that's the reason we stopped the run. But it certainly did give them some motivation for sure.
How'd you feel like the offensive line did in the game on Saturday?
Yeah, I thought they did fine, truthfully, and that's the shame of it. I thought they handled the movements and stuff really well. There was one breakdown in protection. The others, I think we kind of caused, with either setting the protection wrong or moving out of the pocket too early. But I think, again, without the turnovers, I think you're looking at another 250-yard plus rushing night. And so I thought they were doing a fine job of run blocking.
You talked about getting McLeod back. What did it add to the defense, and then how much of a boost is that moving forward, having that speed off the edge?
I think he's probably 85%. I'd like for him to get to 100%. And then I think he really gives us a boost. But at 85%, he's made us better. He's strong at the point of attack, quick twitched, and can rush the passer. I don't think he got a sack the other night. I don't think, but he's different than what we've been presenting. So he helps us all the way around.
Yeah, a question about the quarterback rotation. I mean, if you're trying to unlock more consistency, wouldn't it make sense to kind of pick a guy and stick with him, or do you like this rotational thing?
That's the big challenge. I do not like the way the other night went with it. But at the same time, I think Robbie has to get his touches. And so that is a absolute something that's on my mind, and we've got to figure it out. Yep. Thank y'all.
All right, last question. I mean, stay for the end there. Hugh Freeze saying, I didn't like the way it went the other night when asked about the quarterback rotation.
I mean, a lot of frustration in there. He talked about they didn't call enough RPOs, some other play calling issues. I don't think he was necessarily rolling Philip Montgomery under the bus, but I think you saw a coach that was very, very frustrated with the way that offense played. Wants it called differently. He even said, if I need to get in there and give you some ideas, I can do it.
I can draw them up.
I could draw them up and then quickly come back and say, but I don't have to do that. They know what they're doing. I think he realized kind of how that sounded when he said it. Then was asked if he would get more involved and said, I got to be in more meetings if I'm going to do that and things like that. He's trying to be more of a head coach, less of a play caller. So, but you could sense his frustration there. He was not happy with the way that offense performed and the way some of the plays were called.
All right, so that's Hugh Freeze. Before that, Nick Saban, as we get ready for Week 3 games coming up. We'll be back with you at 9 a.m. Central Time again tomorrow. Don't forget to go to Disrupt the Media right now for all of the content from over the weekend and for all the stuff coming out this week. Make sure you're following and liking and subscribing Disrupt the Media YouTube and all of the podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, and go to War Damn Pods. So subscribe there for all the Auburn content, and Roll Tide Pods for all the Alabama content. If you're not subscribed everywhere, you may miss something, and set the alerts. We'll see you tomorrow. Until next time, God bless you. God bless America.